jump, lose our minds. No! Random guys!
Wait, he's never gonna expect this.
Hello, and welcome everyone to day 2 of the Deathsland Content Creator Tournament. My name is Admiral, accompanied here by the wonderful, the ever so loving, the ever so handsome, the Pompadour connoisseur man himself, HD Philly B.
What's up, y'all? I'm doing my best Shiv impression. I've been, gotten a couple tweets and DMs that look like Shiv, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. I got my jacket, I got my collar popped. We're ready to pop off here at the Content Creator Cup, my friend. It's been one heck of a weekend with content creators from around the scene, around the world, participating in getting Deadlock even more on the map than it ever has been before.
Yeah, and you know what? This is what we love to see, the Content Creator Tournament that has been bringing everyone unified together for the moment of. Everyone's just all of a sudden in love with Deadlock because, again, Deadlock is a one-of-a-kind game and nothing else is like it. Philly!
Yeah, for sure. So we've got a couple of things to go over, folks, because this is day 2 of our Content Creator Cup tournament. So we have to see kind of where everything has shaken out, right? There's only 4 teams remaining in the bracket. So let's take a look at the groups. We've had a Group A and Group B. We can see kind of the wins and losses that each team has had so far.
Yeah, and you know what? Yesterday was some really good matches. The nail biters that were just happening on everyone for it. I mean, the advancements of all these teams and everyone that's going forward for it, it's proven time and time again that these coaches that we have behind everyone's back is just showing what their value and worth. I mean, look, for the Jin, Macro Monster, Big Earners, Tank Busters, the Slammers, Shy Hung Alpha's the Cube, and of course, Ido was asleep. For some reason, he decided to take a nap halfway through the match.
I guess so. Maybe that's why they didn't do too great in their qualifying group matches there. But Ido, one of the best coaches, one of the best players in the scene, and that's why you come to Death Slam events, folks. If you want to get some of those coachings from the likes of Deathy or Pashi Pop, etc., you can join our Discord and apply for the Academy. But let's take a look at the playoffs. We've got some great teams here. We'll be showing on the stream, at least this A stream, the Slammers versus the Macro Monsters. And this is the teams coached by Deathy. He's got the Slammers, and then we've got Parzelion is an ex-COD pro and a Deadlock streamer content creator. He'll be piloting the Macro Monsters. So a lot of good teams, a lot of good coaches still remaining in the tournament.
Yeah, and definitely. And if you were tuning in from last night, you got to see a lot of gameplay from the side of Macro Monsters here, as they did go into a best of 3 into map 3 as well, and they were able to take the win against the Big Earners. And you know what? That matchup last night was so fun to watch, Philly. I think the funniest part about it is, as I'm pretty sure, I think that's where the clip came from, is where we got to see Dynamo ulting in the corner for some reason, and Mo was just kind of looking at him for a second. I could be wrong. I don't remember if that was the match, but I was literally watching the clip as I was going to go see a movie, and I couldn't stop laughing to myself.
Hey, and that's what it's all about. These are content creators, and that's what they're doing. They're here to entertain, they're here to educate, they're here to surprise, and they're here to show some fun clips. So yeah, it all makes sense. I'm sure we have a ton of things on the back end. We have, of course, our wonderful producer Kashi taking all the clips that he can, so hopefully we'll make a montage or something to post on the YouTube. But right now, we got to turn the tides a little bit, my friends, right? Captaining the ship towards this semifinal match. This is it. There's no double elimination. There's no second chances. Only one team will advance to the semifinal or to the finals.
Yeah, and you know what? That's the nail biter. You know, those are the moments where you start to realize that every little aspect, every little failure of a movement starts to pay off against the enemy team. So again, both these teams really have to try something for it. When it comes to the Macro Monsters and the Slammers, they are just go-to teams. Again, they have some of the best coaches that they are currently in the league. So once again, Pars and our boss, because we kind of have to mention him a little bit, a little kiss nudge nudge for Mr. Deathy himself.
And what I'm looking at in this matchup here is actually the styles that both of these teams bring. We had a chance to kind of talk to all of the coaches. They know their teams the best, and the style that they're both going for are these big team fight oriented composition. So see the likes of a lot of the ultimates that will trap people in, whether it's the frozen shelter, the chain gang, or concussion combustion, whatever it is. There's a lot of these ultimates that these players are going to be looking for. So as we get into the draft, which I believe will pop up in just a moment, that is what I'll be eyeing for as we take a look here, Admiral.
You know, something that we were talking about here for big team fight ultimate, something that I was noticing with our coaches, what they were doing is they were teaching a lot of our player bases how to do really efficient box runs just to be able to get that little slight soul edge advantage that we love to see. And Kelvin and Celeste are going to be the first bans. You know what? I am not surprised for this because we have been seeing Macro Monsters go in with a little bit more of like a Kelvin kind of positioning, right? Last time around, they were banning out Shiv and Warden for the most part. I guess they really didn't want to have to deal with such team fight ultimates. Celeste, again, another character, but it comes into the bouncy ball, right? That's an ultimate that just really changes fights. And if you're going to be playing a team fight oriented team, that's a no-no. You don't want her just to be like, hey, you know what, catch this, and then all of a sudden like 6 of your teammates are just doing so much more damage to each other because they're like group up.
Yeah, and she's really good at kind of the counter ultimate, right? If everyone's grouping up because they want to get these big team fight ultimates, throw the Shining Wonder in, it's bouncing around everybody, blowing folks up. So as we get into the picks and bans here, something else, Admiral, is that there are a few content creators on these teams that have a shallow pool, right? Maybe there's only 1 or 2 heroes they know how to pilot efficiently. And so these coaches have to think about those things. So the Moan Krill for the Slammers might be on FiD, right? Doesn't know too much. He comes from the Tekken world, right? But Moan Krill, he's got combos, he's got some fighting moves, so it makes sense for those two to be paired together. On the flip side, though, the Macro Monsters, we've been seeing a ton of the Venator from this squad, mainly on Dax. So I'll be looking for him to be the star player in this match.
You know what, speaking of 5D, possibly on the chances of the Moan Krill, I think that works very well in terms of someone who has like team fight or what is it? Not team fighting, my mistake. Fighting game orientation, because positioning is an important part when it comes into playing Moan Krill, right? You don't want to just necessarily just dive in for everything. You don't want to just go in and start every single fight. Moan Krill, a lot of people's misconception of the characters, they're like, oh, big burly man, he's a tank, go in, fight. But no, it's more about being a nuisance, you know, going in, coming back out, getting a combo, and just following up with your team. And speaking of, you know, also a nuisance, Paige. I love my girl, right? She's my support. She's one of my support mains. She's one of my support mains, but shield, plot armor is one of the most annoying abilities to deal with if you are not playing the Paige.
Very challenging indeed, and that will most likely be piloted by Gumi. She's a variety streamer with over 200,000 followers, but no MOBA experience, so it really had to get coached by Deathy here, who's one of the best in the business, and she's done incredibly well on this support character for the Macro Monsters. In our first phase of picks, we'll go with the Lash to round it out. They've been playing a Lash a ton in most of their matches, and that was on Ansonex. Has been piloting this character more often than not. They're a Death Slam content creator. They have over 8,000 subscribers. They know a little bit about how to play the game. So look for this character to facilitate a lot of the team fights they're looking for.
And speaking of going into the teamfight orientations, Mina is also out. Again, Nox Nostra is one of those ultimate abilities that is annoying to deal with during team fights. The Mina is going to get airtime. The Mina is going to get great positioning by being in the air. On top of that, silences and also percentage damage, because again, the character just needs to add more things to it. And Sinclair as well is going to be another character that's going to get banned. I think this is actually a really good ban for the side of the Slammers, because if both these teams are focusing much more, like we were speaking about earlier, of the team fight orientation, right? Grouping up to fight in mid, grouping up to fight in blue lane, yellow lane, whatever it is for the objectives. Sinclair is that character that, you know, disperses a lot of people, right? Rabbit Hex is one of those things that when you get hit by it, you're just kind of like, well, I just got to accept my fate and be a rabbit for like 3 seconds.
I mean, these are fantastic bans from that team fight notion, right? The silence so impactful to the counter engage, Sinclair stealing an impactful ultimate like the Death Slam, etc. But what I'm most disappointed in is that Reb, who's the creative director of Warframe, is a great Sinclair. She wants to be the #1 Sinclair in the world, and she won't get a chance to pilot the Magician this time because it's taken off the board. But we will see the Graves, which was piloted a few times from the side of Macro Monsters yesterday, mainly iFlynn. Now, if you don't know iFlynn, they are also a Warframe YouTube aficionado with over 300,000 subscribers. they know a thing or two about playing some games. So a character that you could definitely carry on, not so much with the aiming that you need to worry about, but positioning going to be key.
I think it's funny that the Warframe player is playing the ad character, which is literally the opposite of what a Warframe player is supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be killing ads, not making them.
Right.
But either way, though,
the Wraith now, Admiral, what do you think of that?
I think it's actually a really good pick. One of the things that we've been kind of missing out for the most part with a lot of these matches is there hasn't been really a lot of people maining the gun carries, right? With the sudden shift in the meta composition where a lot more Spirit is prominent, it's kind of interesting seeing Wraith not be in that lineup, and they're putting every word that I just said to the grave, because literally the Slammers went, hey, you know what, just to shut the desk up, Wraith and Infernus, and they're just kind of like, hey, you know what, there you go, there's your answer.
And to me, this is looking more of like a pick comp, which is counterintuitive of what Deathy, he gave us a little blurb. They want to go for this easy execution kind of compositions, these team fight oriented things. Now you can with the rallying charge and the concussion combustion, but for me, with the telekinesis, with the combo, you really want to single out some of these targets. So the positioning and the way they're rotating, they have to out macro the macro masters basically to find these single target opportunities and eliminate them. Seeing the Infernus is also probably going to be on Infernasu, who has over 90,000 followers on Twitch, another Deadlock content creator and streamer, pilots this character almost exclusively. I mean, that is their name after all, so it makes a lot of sense to pick it up there. Admiral, for the macro monsters, what else do you think that they need? Maybe a frontline like an Abrams or a Billy could be up next.
I'm starting to think that as well. We are missing that pivotal character that's going to make space for the side of macro monsters, right? The Slammers have Mo and Krill, and because of that, they are able to make space for themselves and play in a little bit better position. But we are seeing macro monsters just pick up the Warden, which I don't know if I personally like this at the moment. I guess this is kind of like in play to the Wraith and the Infernus. They want this character to be on the side lanes and, you know, farm up and push out the lanes, because again, this character right now, a lot of people have been building a little bit more traditionally gun, because he has really good scaling on top of that, and also because the character for some reason now has unstop when he channels his ultimate at level max. So that's another thing that they decided, you know what, hey, let's sprinkle that in there. You know, thank you, Yoshi, great you, thank you. But either way, I'm very curious to see how macro monsters pick next. I agree with you. I want to see a tank, because that's what they're missing. They're missing that one character to make them space.
And somebody else to help out in the lanes. I think an Abram or a Billy would really accelerate that laning phase for them, keep some of these characters like the Warden and the Venator safe throughout that first 10 minutes or so. But the thing is like, who's piloting that? And instead, it will be a great talent. So, all right, full on team, more damage, right? Spirit Nuker, just blow them up with the Owl, then the Last Stand, the Borrowed Decree. I mean, there's just ultimate after ultimate in here. This will most likely be piloted by Griff, a huge Grey Talon player for the macro monsters. They're a Rust content creator with over 200,000 subscribers on YouTube. I want to see what this player's got.
I am extremely curious on this, because macro monsters are playing the most unorthodox composition I've seen in a couple days. I don't like, my mouth is at kind of like but there's Drifter. Okay, happening here. So we're going with three gun carries, and then macro monsters are going, hey, we don't want to tank Grey Talon.
This is, I mean, we did say they were going for this more pick-oriented composition, and Drifter excels at that, right? Isolating targets, getting that extra stacks online. For me, it's about who's piloting this character, because it's very difficult to facilitate a character such as Drifter. You have to dump a lot of resources into him early to make sure he can get those stacks, those snowballs online. And this is going against what Deathy told us about how they want to run their composition. This is a one that's a tad bit more difficult to execute than what I'm seeing from the macro monsters.
Oh, it's going to be a tad difficult to execute indeed, but you know what? We're going to have to leave that up to our talent. We're going to have to leave it up to our beautiful casters. Once more again, we're going to be passing it on to Seymour and Zombie Grub. Take it away.
Thank you, Admiral. Thank you, Philly. No, I totally agree. I think going into this one, Zombie, where we were kind of talking in the green room about what the macro monsters are kind of bringing to their composition, it looks difficult in their execution. It looks like, you know, they're putting a comp together that is really high skill ceiling, but the Slammers kind of have everything put together to make their job easy in this match.
Yeah, I feel like the Slammers got away with a lot of what they would want. I mean, it's near identical to a comp that they were running yesterday as well, so I think they're very comfortable. SK, like, yeah, you don't want to put them on Celeste, but to put them instead on Wraith is also very scary, and I just feel like, again, we were talking about in the green room, yeah, the Infernus Wraith Page combo could go really hard, whether it's the team fight, obviously, to bring them all together, or I'm just also thinking of their abilities to actually like split push side lanes. Like the autonomy I think that they can have is really good with the quality of players that are on the Slammers.
No, I agree, and I see where Deathy and the Slammers have done their homework yesterday in Macro Monsters match versus the Big Earners. They goes all the way to a 3. They ban the Infernus because they were struggling with it. They pull out the Sinclair. This time, they don't ban the Infernus. They don't get the Sinclair in this matchup versus the Slammers, and that kind of shows that, you're coming into this with preparation if you're the Slammers. You're not just kind of copy-paste every single hero that you don't want to match up against in your ban phase, and stealing away that, or Sinclair, banning away that Sinclair, I think is going to be good for this one. They don't have to really deal with anything. I like the priority coming from this team. I think Macro Monsters, they're going to have to play out of their minds with what they've brought to the table. I'm glad that they still have the Venator. I think that yesterday it was good to see Dak play on that Venator. He had some great moments with that Eerie Domini, but it's still going to be a struggle, I think, from their side.
Yeah, and just to point out that the Slammers actually went undefeated yesterday. So
yeah,
they are coming in as the favorite against Macro Monsters who did struggle. They're coming in from, it was a tremendous boon for them. They turned that into some early Walker kills. They turned it into at least one mid-boss grab, which, favored them, but maybe not as much as they would want. But the Slammers, I mean, they made sure to kind of maybe stay with a game plan they originally had, which was, hey, if we can continue popping off with this Wraith and Drifter, and they both took turns, being on fire and doing the isolating duels, then we're going to start taking some really good fights. And that ended up paying off a lot, because I really feel like Macro Monsters, even to the end, were doing a good job still trying to stay with the whole idea of the lanes are pushed, like we still have some of the map presence, but even with that, they were found out in awkward positions. They were taken down far too quickly by these turning into raid bosses types of characters, not able to get one of those super ideal engagements. They got one mostly ideal engagement, but not quite.
No, and I think for the Slammers, they kind of showed up. We knew that they were looking for some easy executions towards the end of the game. It really didn't get much more simpler than seeing Curry open up with those first kills and SK just followed up with those telekinesis. It's Shaq and Kobe plays coming out from the Slammers to just set them up for a Game 1 win. I want to hear what the desk has to say, so let's see what our analyst desk has cooking.
You know what? What I'm thinking about is how the Drifter really wanted Taco Bell at the end of that, man. He was hungry for some Taco Bell. I mean, did you see him skirting along in the alleyways, just holding down, crouching down in that position? All he was thinking about was Taco Bell.
I think I want some Taco Bell. I'm getting hungry over here. It's 3 p.m. on the East Coast. But, I mean, this Drifter looked incredibly good in this game. And Drifter, kind of known for the pub stomp, right? Where it's like, if you're not playing together, that character is going to find a lot of value. And with 15 kills, 48,000 player damage, Japanese Curry doing just that. But it will be SK Admiral on the Wraith who gets the MVP.
And you know what? One of the things that I was pointing out to you a little bit earlier, Philly, was how when it came into the early positioning here for the Slammers and coming in and having Flynn on the Graves, Macro Monsters, Flynn with the Graves, Flynn had such a good early lead, and I'm very surprised they didn't use Flynn to be able to push against the Walkers as hard as they wanted to. I think one of the main things that a lot of people tend to forget is Graves is just one of those really good characters that just has a really good ultimate during team fights as well, because again, it creates ads, but also really good solo pusher, because you can just leave that ultimate there for a couple seconds and go farm, come back, and then push the way forward.
I agree, except the builds that Flynn was going for was not necessarily the summoner build. It was more of a position to carry. And so if they were caught in two minds, like, do I need to be the carry? Do I need to push this lane? They need to lean into one. You can't half but both, right? Like you've got to pick your lane and drive as fast as you can into it, because they got that Walker early on, and we'll have some clips with that. But then you have to extend your lead by playing aggressive. They were afraid to go over that midfield line and push the Walker down. If they got both those Walkers early, could have been the difference. The other part of that, and this was my big thing with the draft, there was no front line. there was no way for them to create space to allow the characters to get in to find their value. This Greytown kept getting picked because there's nobody standing in front of them. The Veteran found out multiple times. Apollo too. So they need to readjust their draft, get somebody. They have some frontline players here on Macro Monsters. They need to utilize that going forward.
And you know what? I agree with you on that. One thing's for sure, though. Again, I keep looking back at Macro Monster's early lead. Fitzy did a great job in the early lane, being able to play Apollo so well, of keeping pressure onto it. I mean, even then, like, team fights all around, when it came into the Slammers and the Macros, as we see some clips right now for the Urn, you can see the positioning for everyone in forward. I mean, Slammers were not contested for almost any of the Urns, and then they just easily kind of just glided on through for the Urns.
Yeah, and the Slammers, that was their main objective. I think they got every single Urn, and so they utilized the value from those neutral objectives to push them to their lead. Then they took the Guardians and Walkers later down the line. What I want to highlight here in this clip, folks, is the trade. So MOBAs are all about trading. If I'm getting something, I know I'm going to give something else up, right? So what the Slammers decide to do is they're trading the Urn for this first Walker. Now, this is a pretty even trade in terms of soul. The first Urn's about 3,500 souls, Walker just about the same, but what they're giving up is a ton of map pressure because this Walker goes down. Now, the issue here is that they don't then utilize that pressure with the Graves further down the line, which we kind of just discussed previously. So a good rotation from them to get this Urn, get this the mid Guardian, right? They give up some structures for it, but I was really looking for Macro Monsters to kind of press the issue some more after this trade.
And again, another point, like, you make a really good point about that, is the early Walker was not the best point to make into it, right? It's kind of like the soul differentiation between the two isn't very palpable. My God, palpable. Speak English, come on. But point is, that little soul difference doesn't really matter, right? Because the thing about Walkers is you're opening yourself up to have another available purchase. But if you don't have the soul lead and you don't have the income for it, all you just do is have an open slot that's just there for the moment of.
And so they had to utilize that, right? If you can't fill the flex spot, then use the map to gain the souls that you need. Take Sinners, take the camps, but push another tower somewhere else, whatever it may be. They didn't do that. We're going to bring up a next clip here, Admiral, and this is the Graves in lane 3 trying to push this Walker. This is what they needed to do, and I wanted the Graves to go harder into this fight. This is what Deathy calls a limit test, right? You get your item spike. Let's see if you can stack up against the opposing carry, and Graves did incredibly well to do so. Unfortunately, the reinforcements arrived for the Slammers and kind of pushed the Graves away, and then they were too scared to step up after that. And they didn't get this Walker as early as they needed to help their advantage.
And yeah, I totally agree. Again, you're making killer points right now, because a lot of the stuff that we were talking about, like in the green room, was how they weren't necessarily using the characters to the best of their ability, and like also kind of drawing us to a surprise, right? When it comes into the Slammers composition, they had 3 hyper characters. I mean, again, Curry's Drifter was literally drifting on the scene for every single fight. Like, the man literally just went shadows and just decided, hey, you know what, I'm just gonna run around. There's a moment where he just ran at someone Mach speed and no one stopped him.
Yeah, the movement speed he gets off of some of his abilities is pretty insane. Let's take a look at this clip right now, folks, of highlighting Japanese Curry on this Drifter. He's got 33 stacks so far on his 3, and he's just gonna, at the end of the game, he got, I think it was like 64 or something like that. Like, he had so many stacks because he was catching people out. Now this goes into the mid-boss fight, and let me pause it here. The rallying charge, right? Anytime you build a composition, what do I have to contest against a mid-boss take? For this composition with the Slammers, you have the rallying charge, you have the concussion combustion, and then sometimes the Moe and Krill helps, right? And the telekinesis too, if you can find some singular targets that might be wanting to contest the Urn, right? If you have an IV or something like that, you can break them away from the fight. That's really good. But they weren't able to do that, so they desperately dove into the rallying charge because they were late to this fight, tried to bop a couple people up, and they get Sajam 1 rejuve, but they lose it quite quickly, so a good try on the attempt of the rejuve.
Yeah, and something of it as well, because of this fight that they were happening on, they ended up losing at least one of the rejuves, and with that in mind, Slammers were just down in that fight positioning, but Macro Monsters were able to hold on to that rejuve a little bit longer. We saw that later down the line when Fitzy died. He was the one who had to, unfortunately, give up the last rejuve for the side of the Macro Monsters. But something I did want to point out here is the Slammers were kind of struggling for damage at this point. Sajam, I remember in the green room, I talked about how Sajam was not doing as much damage as I thought he should have been for having the Island Curse out already. I mean, he was gunning for like multiple people, but I felt like he should have done more damage in that fight. Either way, though, they were able to at least get one person in it.
So I think the thing with Silver, right? She is caught in this interesting position where she could be the position 1, 2, or 3, because that's like your main carry, or in this like 4 role where you're kind of a frontline soft CC sort of character. And I think Sajam was going for that, knowing that SK Curry and Infernasu were gonna be the top 3 with the most souls. So they were playing more of that distraction frontline kind of character. So it makes sense that they don't have a ton of damage numbers, but they did their job incredibly well of creating space, which was lacking here for the Macro Monsters. As we head into our next replay, this is what we call the end game fight, folks, the 33-minute mark. This is going to spell the end of game number 1, and it's off the back of this Drifter once again. The Italo-san gets for it's in a really awkward position, and the Captive Reed stuns him into place. After that, he is just blown to smithereens, doing everything he can to try to escape. But because of all these resources being expended in this fight and a great disengage from the Slammers, they can then re-aggress and find these solo opportunity picks, right? Just 1, 2, 3, the dominoes falling, and then from there, they just storm the base.
Yeah, and overall, just like the end game performance of how everyone was playing was to the peak of their performance of it. Again, 3 hyper carry characters who are just extremely fed. What can you do other than just, accept the reality of your consequences? You are playing a composition that is much more oriented on the team fighting, and you don't necessarily have the hyper gun character besides having Graves. But even then, you are limiting yourself because there's reach, there's abilities that, stun, but at the same time, like, you really have to play positioning against it, and on top of that, waste a lot of resources to keep your hyper carrier alive. It's a gamble every single time. I think, I sound like a broken record here. I would think I would have preferred to see the Graves be like the split pusher, focus on the abilities rather than just be the hyper gun carry.
For sure. And once again, they needed some frontline. Their team fight ability was there. We saw it in the third clip of how they took the mid boss. They were able to get a bunch of ultimates combo together, find the eliminations, fantastic. But they only were able to do that one time. The rest of the match, they were in singular pods and then just picked off easily by the Drifter. So if you're going for a team fight composition, you then have to fight as a team. You can't just be like in 2s or 3s. You gotta go as 4 or 5, then let Graves split push or whatever it may be. So a lot of things for the Macro Monsters to adjust with, but they have the time to do it now. Admirals, we're heading into the draft for game number 2.
I'm really hoping this time around, when it comes into the Macro Monsters composition, we see a little. Okay, never mind. I was gonna say like we're gonna see the ban for the Celeste again, and there he is. Like, I just don't ignore me at this point. I feel like they're predicting every single like theory crafting I'm trying to come up with, and they're just kind of like, hey, let's shut this guy up for just a second. But Slammers picking the Kelvin again. These are safe bans to have because these are ultimates that are just drastically game changing. Celeste right now is one of those characters that when it comes into team fighting, when it comes into just positioning, she is a nightmare to deal with. And if you don't have someone that's really good at locking them down or being able to, CC chain them, then it's a character that's just kind of get out of jail free card. Kelvin is another character that's like that in terms of ultimate, being able to save multiple people, and also have something that we've been seeing time and time again, stopping ultimates, like, stopping Apollo's Italiano-san, being able to just dome everyone out of the fight. And Macro Monsters picking the Mo and Krill.
And it makes sense for the Mo and Krill. I think Reb, fantastic player, great creative director, but was lost on the Warden, not necessarily in her wheelhouse. She tried to go for more of a support spirit Warden, which is fine. That's what I love about this game, is you can kind of craft your character to fit the needs. Is it the most meta, most effective, high damage, whatever? No, but if it's fun to play and might work with your composition, what the heck, go for it. But a fantastic support player she is, the Sinclair, the Mo and Krill, Paige, so on and so forth. So they lock her pick in early with this Mo and Krill, then go with the Venator thereafter, back on Dak without a doubt. On the flip side, the Slammers, though, the Graves, This is the question mark for me. Who is piloting this character? As I go through my notes, I'm like, nobody really even played the Graves on the side of the Slammers. So gonna be interesting take to see who is on the Necromancer.
And speaking of weirdos and anomalies existing in the world of Deadlock, Doorman getting picked up for the side of Macro Monsters. Character that also recently got changes for the most patch. I want to say like about a month ago that got their spirit essentially changed for it. Doorman's door goes longer distances basically on the longer he exists. So, you know, that's just something you got to deal with. Paige, a character that I'm, again, fan of heart of. I think what we've been seeing a little bit more here, something that I kind of hope that happens with the Slammers on the page. Last time around when we saw Paige on the battlefield, they were prioritizing building shield, right? And I think this is something that a lot of players tend to forget, is prioritizing shield doesn't necessarily mean it is a priority at first. I like the way that I like to play Paige is having the having just Guardian Ward for the basis of providing shielding for early on, and then just getting debuff items, right? Getting Decay, getting Curse, rushing Silence Wave, rushing Slowing Hex, things that prevent the enemy players from getting the upgrade advantage of you. Because scaling Paige, shielding is just something that comes naturally. You don't need to upgrade Guardian Ward just yet. And speaking of the man, he's not going to be getting any Taco Bell anymore. That's quite sad today. No drive-through order for him. Drifter's out of the fight, and Lash is also out of the fight as well. Another team fighting ultimate.
And these are targeted bans, right? The first two bans, they're just kind of like meta, just get them out of the way. These are targeted, right? Curry ran train all over that match with the Drifter. They cannot do that again. Lash was very effective. Some great team fight death slams to turn the defense of their walkers into victories. But the Lash always kind of peters out towards the later stages of the match. We are now seeing the Infernus picked up by the Slammers, and that is going to go on Infernasu once again. This is something that we have to highlight, folks, right? These streamers, they come from other games that they've spent umpteenth hours on. Now they're going to Deadlock. Maybe they have 2,000 or 200, right? So if they only have a couple characters, you have to account for that. Infernus being, and the Page being that those two picks for the Slammers. On the flip side, though, the Wraith, once again, SK looking incredibly lethal on this character.
Okay, interesting that we are seeing Macro Monsters pick up the Calico.
Yeah.
I think this is actually kind of a nasty pick for the set of Macro Monsters, primarily because they're going to have a character, and I think this is something that they were struggling on last game. They're going to have a character that's able to rotate, right? Something that we have not been seeing a lot of teams do is having someone early rotate. We typically are been used to seeing the 3-minute early ganks, right? Where people, you know, get the first wave or bully a little bit of presence onto it, go box farm, and while they're box farming, they're like, hey, you know what? Let's get some pressure off of you. Let's just provide a little bit of support for you for just the time being. Slammers also realize their error of their way, picking up the big boy himself, the big blue man, the detective, if you.
And I certainly will. Love the Abrams. Think he's a great character. And this is what they need. Some more team fight ability with the seismic impact and a great front line. The Mina is going to help them carry through the mid game. She's going to be their spirit nuker, does a ton of damage in that regard. Just going to blow up all of these squishier targets. I would love the Macro Monsters to round out their composition with a Billy. Think having that someone that can provide that frontline engage, that space creation. Calico can provide that should she scale, right? She gets that boost to souls with the ability points, but she kind of falls off a little bit. So how are you going to keep her throughout the game? The Haze as the last pick will probably go onto iFlynn, but this is an interesting one for sure.
I am very the compositions that everyone's been picking today have been surprising nonetheless. And Haze for Macro Monsters, I think is a sleeper. I think this is a sleeper pick. I don't think they realize that, in terms of the Slammers going up against Macro Monsters, I don't think the Slammers realize that having the Wraith and the Haze is equally as nightmarish as having Infernus and Wraith and Drifter all in one comp, right? These are characters that both, if one of them fails to be the hyper character, you have a backup. You have someone who can also be the hyper carry character. And I think for last time around, having
start targeting the Slammers a bit more. I questioned the practice, the amount of time that individuals have played on these characters that are suddenly coming out new, different from their drafts previously, and they did a wonderful job. Initially it was very tough, and the Mina kind of dominating that early to mid game is always scary, but they persevered. They came together again, keeping that mental, I think, was really important for that type of game, and then actually had the points where those carries like Wraith could get rich enough and actually just start dominating. They were picking people off. Fitzy was denying everything. They're denying ults, they're denying urns, they're denying movements, like they're absolutely critical. I don't know if they'll get the MVP, but it feels like kind of one of those like hidden MVP scenarios. It was great.
I don't know if he's going to get Doorman 2 games in a row after what we just watched, but no, that was a ton of fun. I'm excited to see what kind of happens now for the Slammers on how they deal with a loss going into this game number 3. What's their draft going to look like? What's their game plan going to look like? We got 2 people who are probably going to break that down on the analyst test. So let's give it back to Admiral and Philly.
Thank you. Oh, but Philly, come on, man. Fitzy checking everyone into the Baroness every 90 seconds. We were talking about in the green room that how funny it was that we were like, why did he rush Phantom Strike? And then immediately just shut me up. Again, they hear me being annoying in the background, and they're like, hey, we gotta shut him up. Let's just prove the point.
And so we belabored this point a little bit with the Doorman, but I want to just put one final stamp on it. They created macro pressure across the map utilizing this character. They got most of the urns in this game because they were afraid of this door engage. They didn't know where the Doorman was going to pop out. And so the Slammers were struggling to find their footing to get some of these urns. And because of that, their game plan was thwarted. That was what they were working on, the Slammers, the entirety of game 1. So let's check out the MVP, though. It will be Flynn on the Wraith who carried the game.
Yeah, and you know what, though? Again, with the Wraith being on the MVP side, something I want to talk about as well is SK. I think SK's performance this time around was just, it was so strong. And one of the things that we were talking about before, when it came into the matchup for the last time around, how a lot of teams haven't been necessarily picking like the hyper carry character or the Mouse 1 character, but SK's Mina was nasty through and through. There was a point where he 1v1 Griff, and Griff was ahead of him by like 8k, and he just immediately destroyed him thanks in part to the Nox Nostra ultimate and the stacks. But also another thing I want to point out as well is Japanese Curry. They focused him so hard throughout the entirety of this match. Japanese Curry, best as much as they were trying to keep themselves alive for a lot of the fights, they just used so much ultimates against him. There was the Doorman ults, then we got to see Mo and Krill. At some point, he got immobilized twice during a fight because of Paige. There's only so much you could do to keep Japanese Curry alive, but the enemy team is doing everything in their rightful hand to stop him.
I was concerned at first about the lockdown, the CC for the macro monsters, but they worked this pick composition to perfection. They found these opportunities to secure high priority kills like the silver and things like that, right? They were able to get this pressure across the map because they were eliminating characters, and so they couldn't take the Slammers these 4v5 engagements because they were always down a player. And even when you thought they had the right opportunity with these large engagements with their ultimates, they couldn't find the right way to go into the fight. And because the milling around, anytime you're patiently trying to maneuver, that's when a pick composition can strike. They found some people that were spread from the group and they took them out of the game. So well done there from the macro monsters to take us to a game 3. It's been exciting all the way, but Admiral, we've got a couple of replays to break down.
Yeah, and then the first one that we're going to bring you, my God, I'm starting a storm right here. But speaking of going into the first clip, the bridge fight clip, something that I want to point out for this one is, like, I think it's funny because we've been pointing out to a lot of the bridge fights that have been happening, and for some reason Lash has been the one stealing them for the last game prior to this one. This time around, everyone decided to go, hey, let's all go to bridge at the same time. And in part, we're seeing Fitzy go in with the door. We got to see a double parry come in again. And overall, just a chaotic fight for Spirit buff.
And this is, I think, indicative of Deathy's playstyle and his coaching strategy. Buffs are incredibly important in the early game. It helps you push the lane so you can take a Guardian damage. It allows you to open up for some of the Sinners that come at the 8-minute mark. There's very impactful things that you can get off of getting those buffs early. And what the impact they got is 3 kills onto the macro monsters. So great from there. Fortunately, early game kills, not super, detrimental because your respawn timers are so low, but still a good few souls in your pocket set them up for the rest of the early game.
Yeah, and I think also as well, what early kills allow teams to have is like a spark of motivation, right? If you win an early team fight, you feel good about yourself. You feel like that moment of like, yeah, we did that. Like, we're the ones who are dominating. And then up until you hit the 15-minute mark, and then suddenly there's like a haze was like 32k, and you just get run down by absolutely everyone. But in this case scenario, we got to see them, uplift their confidence for just a moment, and I think that was a pivotal moment for them in order to be like in this position of a team dynamic and also just feel good about themselves. Again, just because you lose one fight doesn't necessarily mean you can't come back from it, but winning a fight, so good in Deadlock.
For sure. And speaking of winning fights, we have a big earn delivery. This is the first earn of the game. And there's a lot of ultimates on the board, the big ones, right? The seismic impact and the rallying charge here for the Slammers. But this is great positioning from the macro monsters to make sure that the urn is protected. If they have to drop it in, you have to fight through bodies first. And they're able to kind of guard it, but the overwhelming might of the Slammers just crashing through allows them to get that earn take at the end. So the early game was fantastic for the Slammers. They had everything going for them. They just petered out to the end because they didn't really have a true M1 kind of carry. The Infernus wasn't totally building there. The Graves was going more of the Summoner build. And then I'm out on Silver. Really think she's kind of solid as a position 3. Not going to totally carry you through a game.
Something I did want to point out for that fight as well is Agumi just going in, just sacrificing their life to dunk it in. I think that's such a brave move, and part of being a support character is to have the confidence in your team to follow up against you, and they did. They were able to keep Agumi alive for the entirety of that fight. They dropped Earn once. I will say that because Gumi did get smacked halfway through into the air and they were able to drop it. But even then, they were able to secure it again and then immediately fall back and just let the team clean up for you. So that is just team dynamics. And I sound like a broken record when I say this, but those kind of moments, again, make you feel good. And then on top of that, you got souls and kills. So now you got a little bit of a lead because of it.
Most of esports is a mental game, right? You have to be able to focus the entire time. If you make a mistake, how do you bounce back from it? You can't get tilted, right? And so all of these little things that happen, you have to make sure you keep your mental straight. As we go into our next clip here, folks, this is an Earn contest, which broke out into a massive fight. This starts out with the Page trying to run it across the map. And I'm going to pause it here real fast, because this is one of the opportunities where you feel like the Slammers should have the victory in the bag, right? You can combo all of these ultimates together, and there's no ultimates. There's really nothing on the other side here. But what they utilize is some of the pick potential that they do have. The sleep daggers and the scorn, right? And the sandblast, right? Getting some of those disarms and soft CCs as they're called. And the pick composition really works when you find a singular target, and that was the Silver. As she was moving forward to kind of scout out, didn't have enough shots to get the Lycan Curse. You can see here, folks, just almost there. Maybe needed 2 more headshots to get it online, and then the front facing force of the Slammers would have been available. But they found this pick opportunity and took the Silver to town, and from there, the Slammers just tried to save their friend as best they could, but it was too late, and then they go tumbling down thereafter.
Something that we were talking about in the green room here is I was very confident for the Slammers to deposit this run so easily, and in part because I was heavily relying on Sajam to start the fight with Seismic Slam, but we didn't actually get to see Seismic Slam until towards the end of it, and by then, Sajam didn't really have any priority targets for it. I mean, the entirety of Macro Monsters positioned themselves so well against the ultimates for the Slammers. I mean, just immediate deposit again from Antonex. Great movement right there. You know, if we cut back to the cameras, you're going to see Yoshi over here holding a sign that says Buff Calico Low. But again, Slammers having the ultimate advantage against Macro Monsters. It surprises me that they lost this fight.
It was really good. Once they got the pick, they disengaged the macro monsters and caused the slammers to kind of chase them. And they used abilities and resources to run them down. And at that point, they were exhausted. No gas left in the tank. And macro monsters re-engaged using their mobility, like the Doorman and the Haze, etc., with the smoke bomb. And then they found those picks, and they had 3 members on the earned drop-off point, which denied Page the re-entry. They were able to scoop it up for themselves. We have a few more clips here for you folks, and this one will be what we're going to call, Admiral, the mid-boss attempt here. This was a little suspect from the Slammers.
The not so quite mid-fight, if you will, thanks in part to Kashi there. But
Yeah.
I think this is what we were talking about in the green room is it was interesting to see Fitz just come in with the ultimate to bait everyone in for the fight. Oh my god, look at the timing on that from Asinix with the Return of Shadows. But the timing of the ultimate it's what allured the entirety of macro monsters to just position themselves and wait for a team fight for it. Inferno's hitting at 34k and Asinix hitting at Dak is also at 42. I just realized that as well. And on this timing of everything, the ultimate combinations, we got to see rallying charge from Gumi to keep everyone alive, but it wasn't able to keep the teammates up. We got to see Inferno getting taken out for this one, and the timing of SK using Phantom in order to get out of the fight for just a second, and also not being able to get out even though they did have bats in hand. I mean, look how low of HP they're holding on to. Dak also misses the timing on this. I was kind of giggling about this because I was like, oh, he's got this, and he got a little too excited here. Boom, there's the first shot, misses it, but it doesn't even matter because they're able to just immediately take down SK.
And I think this is all off on the back of, once again, utilizing the macro monster mobility, because their engage this time was with the Infernus. They looked for the concussion combustion, but the Return of Shadows and some of the shiftiness from the burrow denied the full-on engage. And so there was nothing that they could do. They expended resources, got nothing for it, and then the Venator came in through the back, just had some gut shots, some great, grenades, etc., and then found the eliminations they needed. So it's about utilizing the mobility from the macro monsters that really saved them in terms of their macro game and in these big fights.
Yeah, and one thing's for sure I did want to point out was the Bone Crow combos there. Again, the timing of every single ultimate coming online is really the game-changing factor when it came into this fight. And one thing's for sure though, I do think having the summon or the Grave summon be underneath kind of drew not the attention that they wanted. Not the attention that they wanted, more in the sense that minions unfortunately went the opposite directions of where the fighter coming from, right? The direction of where they come from are going to be immediately drawn to stairs. They can't repel up. So they're stuck on an auto path that just leads them through the stairs and away from the fight. And I think really not having that ultimate in the fight is kind of what messed them up a little bit.
Yeah, they surely needed it. Absolutely. We could talk about the Graves, but I want to talk about this dance of death that kind of sealed the deal for the macro monsters. And so we'll get this clip rolling. This was at 4K for the side of Griff. They were a great setup for a lot of these team fights, but finally reached that 40K threshold, and they're like, all right, team, I'm putting it on my back. Dives in, bullet dance of death, and gets 4 players down. And this basically, sealed the deal, brings us to a game 3. This has been a wonderful series though so far. I don't know, we've been kind of hyping this more of like, because we cast a lot of like professional and the upper tier stuff, but this is just good old-fashioned fun. We saw the content creators chatting it away during some of the pauses and such. Like, they're having a blast out there, but there were moments of intensity and contention because they are competitors. They want to win, and a game 3, what could be better?
I mean, yeah, overall, they're really trying their best to just keep everyone's hopes up and having a fun game, like you said. And then also, they're checking each other, right? They're really trying to be like, hey, you know what? You did this to me. Guess what? I'm going to do this to you. In part, like, I sound like a broken record here repeating as well to Fitzy, because Fitzy just was like, all right, cool. You guys bullied me last game. I'm bullying you now, and I'm going to be doorman for this one.
So maybe that's an adjustment as we bring up the draft here for game number 3 between the macro monsters and the slammers. Doorman, you have to think would be a priority if you're going to take Celeste and Calvin. Maybe you switch that up, but if you do, that's extra folks that you don't want on the battlefield. So it's really contentious these first couple bans.
You know what? I completely understand why they keep banning the Kelvin and Celeste, right? These are I will repeat it over and over again. These are characters that really change up fights, and I'd rather not see the Kelvin or Celeste in the fight, because what ends up happening is just an ult battle. And those are characters that just have time and time ultimates that are just so effective. And speaking of ult that is so effective, Mo and Crow. Because you know what he wants? The Mole Man wants to give you a nice big old hug.
That's why he's my favorite character, because I like hugs too. So, but this is going to go on 5DX. In game 2, they kind of petered on the Graves a touch, and I think getting them on their comfort pick will help them, just all around in terms of the team orientation. The Macro Monsters prioritizing the Doorman immediately. Fitz is saying, "Coach, put me in on this character again. I can carry." And then they will round it out with the Silver, which we've belabored that point quite heavily, that this character is just good at everything. Engage. Front line, good in the lane, good from early to mid, great ultimate, right? She just kind of does everything. You just have to scoop her up.
Yeah, and then also Curry, fantastic overall performance. It's a character that is fed, and it's a character that is always just doing such great work for it. I think Curry is just performing this character to every exception possible. Paige, coming in from the Slammers, I'm going to criticize the Paige plays that have been happening here, because as a Paige main myself, or as a support main myself when it comes in for the Dynamo and Paige, why are we not building things to counteract the players instead of just focusing on knockdown? I mean, focusing on knockdown and shield is great, but, build other stuff. Stuff that silences, stuff that stops people from shooting you. That's fun to build too.
There's multiple layers, right? There's movement tech, there's macro game, there's itemization, there's counterplay in the lane, ability mapping, right? There's so many different things that you have to keep track of. And so I applaud these content creators for moving from some of their other games that may not have some of those intricacies to really trying it out right now. So, Gumi on the page. Let's see if they go for a silence wave in this one to shut this Doorman down. The Drifter for the Slammers, it was able to make it through the bans this time. They prioritize it in this first round. It's going to probably go on to Curry. Very good to maybe counter the Doorman as he's rotating. The Drifter can follow him, find those isolated matchups, and hopefully eliminate him. On the flip side, though, we're seeing the Wraith for the Macro Monsters again was very prolific in this previous game. They're going to look to replicate that.
And speaking of second bans, Sinclair and Mina. Oh, no Sinclair. Kind of makes me sad. But Mina getting banned as well. I understand why exactly Macro Monsters are going to pick out or going to get rid of the Mina. We don't want two annoying vampire characters on the battlefield, and I completely understand why they want to do that. But something I do want to point out as well with Macro Monsters picking the Wraith, I'm kind of curious to see if they're going to get Curry off of Silver and put him on Wraith instead, because Silver overall, Curry has been doing a fantastic performance of it, but I think they want to be able to rush eject this faster, and putting him on Wraith would be pretty nasty in my opinion. But as we go on for the next pick, Venator, again, another safe pick that everyone has been deciding for themselves.
This is going to go on Dak. They are going to go 3 for 3 in terms of piling this character. Flynn was on the Wraith in the previous match. Probably going to do that again. Infernus, this will be for Infernasu once more. I mean, we're seeing a lot of the similar picks just because, once again, the hero pools. If you have to learn 5 different elements or pillars, as Deathy calls them, of the game, then just sticking to one character that helps you kind of keep track of all those bigger elements that you need to have that list as you go through each minute of the match. The Mirage, we have yet to see the Genie Courier in this series, Admiral. They're showing up today.
Something I want to point out as well, because Mirage is my secret pocket pick whenever I decide to play characters that are gun. I've loved him since the day one that he came out. One thing that I will always appreciate something for when it comes to Mirage players is they understand when to start initiating fights and when to come into fights. Something that is like much more of a patient lifestyle that comes in with Mirage is realizing that maybe in the early games you do great damage, you do really good poke, but then people start building armor, and then at that point you just kind of have to wait a moment before you come back into the fight. And I think in part it's just a patience game when it comes to Mirage. But for Macro Monsters, they don't want to play the patience game. They want Warden and Lash, which are people who are going to be chasing down everyone as easily as they could say run.
So this is interesting, but not out of the ordinary. I mean, we saw Reb play the Warden in game 1, kind of going for this spirit utility Warden, which was okay. Didn't find exactly what she was looking for. Might do it again. Once again, comfortability is key. And Sonex on the Lash was very good in game one, dancing around the battlefield. I do want to go back to the Mirages. We're finding this last pick, which will be the Abrams for the Slammers. Sajam looked really good, some great initiations, great shoulder charge to lock down the Venator, so on and so forth. But this Mirage, I believe, will be here to kind of help also keep this doorman in check. If he's flying across the map through the interdimensional portals, okay, well, I'll Traveler and I'll meet him. There's a great split push ability with this character, and I think that they want to utilize that to create open spaces on the map to maybe get an Urn, because they didn't have many, or even the bridge buffs. Get something available to help accelerate your team.
I think this is also where I'm going to piggyback off of what you just said right now. I think this is also Slammer's retaliation for having Wraith and Silver, right? So Macro Monsters is going to prioritize having Silver for the fights, where they're going to prioritize having Wraith be on the side lanes and just be the hyper carry that they want later down the line, is going to be able to secure objectives. And I think Mirage is their answer to be like, hey, we see the Wraith there, we're going to send Mirage over and do something about it.
Yeah, very interesting to see how these lanes...
While dealing maximum damage, maybe they're trailing after someone trying to pick them off, not able to. Meanwhile, Slammers like Paige were getting taken down, or SK was taken down a Mirage, and they just weren't coming into the 6v6s as they would want.
No, I think there was a moment there where the Slammers were all gas, no brakes as soon as they took their foot off the gas. And that's when Macro Monsters set their counterattack, and it truly shifted the pace of this entire battle. 2 comebacks in a row. You deem them the comeback kings. I'm gonna sit there and call them that too. And I'm sure we got 2 people on the desk that want to break down exactly how this happened. An upset in the semifinals, our first grand finalist for the Macro Monsters. Let's see what Philly has to say alongside Admiral.
All right. I have something to say here. Why did they just rely so much on him to try to carry? The Drifter had 51 stacks at 22 minutes, which I put my money to the mouth is in the green room, because I had said if he hits 50 stacks by 20 minutes, I will. They were gonna get the dub for this. Immediately proved me wrong.
Well, we talked about how their composition was really early game focus, and they dominated that first about 20 minutes of the game, really facilitating the Drifter, buying a lot of items on their support characters to help him find these isolation kills. But then eventually he was the only one with farm. Nobody else was even holding a candle to him or to the players on the opposite side. And so when you're relying on one character, that's not going to cut it in a 6v6 type of format. So they just ran out of gas. They couldn't close it out. They were so close. They were in the base. We were like, this is going to be it. But they just didn't have enough gas in the tank to get the final shrine down. If they had both shrines, I think it would have been better for them. However, let's check out the MVP for this match, Admiral. I'm curious to see what it is, because there are a lot of great members on the side of the Archmother team, and it will be Dak on the Venator who gets his comeuppance.
This time around, Wraith not being the MVP. Bit of a shocker there, but Dak also really good positioning out there in the entirety of the fights. One thing I want to point out though was Dak this time around, when it came to landing the gut shots, was pivotal, right? And I think this also has to be a part as well with the fact that Macro Monsters just using their CC so good this time around. I think that's what they were kind of like really relying on for the most of their team fights, was either for Fitzy to check them into the Baroness, or relying on someone else to start the fight as well, with Dak and Fitzy, as well as Anisex on just Lash as well. These are characters that are essentially allowing themselves to start the fight, have ultimates to follow it up, and on top of that, CC just to keep the chain going.
And they allowed Dak enough space to push a Walker on his lonesome, get those souls online, and then he could take the Drifter down. He could find those Iradomini shots and just burst him. The other thing with the Drifter is once you get later into the game, people itemize to counter you, whether it's, disarming hex or whatever it may be, or the bullet vest. We saw a couple of people buying those, and so he can't burst you as quickly. And even if he had 51 stacks at one point or whatever it was, you have the items to kind of keep you alive, just enough for your reinforcements to come in or for you to escape. And so that's where he's got a certain timing that he has to hit. If you don't close the game out by then, well, then you better have a backup, and they just didn't. here, the Slammers. So they will say goodbye, and the Micro Monsters will move forward. However, Admiral, we've got a couple of replays to go through, and the first one we will check out is about this early lane pressure that they were exemplifying, the Slammers. This is them taking the mid Guardian at this 9-minute mark. They did that by allowing this Abrams to rotate from lane to lane, and they did this death ball maneuver to find these picks.
And one thing's for sure is Curry early on getting the first wave or the first Guardian was something that we were talking about was pivotal for them to be able to rotate out so quickly. I mean, Curry early in the lane, right, was sitting at 5 kills. Those are some juicy stacks for Drifter. Those are just great abilities that you want to have for someone who is the hyper carry to just be fed on his lane. But one thing's for sure though, when, like we were talking about, when you don't have that presence and you don't have that lead, it's hard for you to want to keep forward and keep pressure on it if you're falling behind as quickly. But even then, Curry was ahead. So it's kind of like a bit of a mind boggle for a lot of people to see when someone is being so dominant be put down.
Absolutely. And so we'll head into our next clip, which is more for just content, right? This is the Content Creators Cup. And so there will always be some whimsical plays for us to capture. This one is the Doorman politely escorting the Drifter away. We saw how good Fitz was in game 2. Was shut down a spec in game 3, but created enough havoc to make sure the rest of the team couldn't get. There you go. The door slammed in his face, and the urn returned because of it. So great play from the Doorman to facilitate across the map. I do want to highlight in this one, just real quick, the soul differential. Okay, look. It is the Drifter at 20k, but Flynn is at 20, Dak is at 18, and they're the big players. And so when you have a 2-to-1 ratio, that's not going to cut it once you get later down the line.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you on that. Something I also did want to point out as well from a little bit of that moment, Curry was just all over the place, and in part because of how quick he was. Something I did want to make mention of that was just how insanely fast he was at being able to rotate out. And we also were talking about before, like during the draft phase with SK picking the Mirage and being able to rotate out with the ultimate. Something I did kind of take notice about it was the ultimates were coming in times to be able to for the team fights, but I kind of feel like SK didn't really have that much of a strong presence later down the line, even with the ultimate. This allows him to move around.
This is because they were prioritizing SK in these fights. And this is a big thing with MOBAs, is you have to have target priority. Who is the most lethal member or the most crucial member of the opposite side? What is our strategy to get them out of the fight, disable them, push them away, whatever it is? And later down the line, they found SK multiple times to open up every engagement. And that's a bulk of that single target damage that was just eliminated immediately. This was a great, just a big fight, showed the power of the Drifter. But then after this 22-minute mark, he loses his luster, and people itemize to keep him down. So just a really good highlight of where the timing needs to be, that 22 to 25-minute mark. After that, you have to close out the game if you got a Drifter on your team.
Yeah, and something something in part that also just ends up happening as well was that we did see for this game was, like you said, the atomization is in hand. Something that people have a tendency of doing overbearing is they start building green items to deal with the damage heavy characters, but something that I think is taught later down the line as you play the game, you don't always have to buy priority items just to keep yourself alive. Something that is also very beneficial as well is buying either debuffs or just going straight into ramping damage, because the one thing that they can't keep up with is you're outputting more damage than they are in comparison to you being able to survive whatever they can provide out to you. Again, they have one green item, but you have 4 damage items. That is much more valuable in the long run rather than the short term where they're trying to uphand you every little second by just maintaining having green items.
It is a logic battle, right? If I do this and you do that, if Darwin was alive, they would see evolution in a microcosm just like this, a petri dish with each and every game. But this is what I want to highlight now for the Macro Monsters, the turning point where everyone in the green room, maybe you two at home, were just like, this is it. This is where they could possibly win it. And this is a massive fight for them. What I want to highlight to start this out, there's no Traveler, right? From the Mirage, he was late getting to this fight, so he's about right here on the map. There is no concussion combustion, or that was used prematurely. I believe that's right here for him. Only maybe catches the Mo and Krill. But this is the Death Slam. This is the big ultimate they're playing for, so they're jockeying back for space and then allowing this Death Slam to come through. And so I'll highlight that for you when we see it. I'll slow this down for you at home as well. So a lot of stuff. The Lightning Scroll from Reb, Immaculate, the last stand to keep him alive. Let's see if I can pause it at the right opportunity for the Death Slam. There goes the grapple, and there's the Death Slam right here. Mo Krill is covering it. But at that point, he tossed a bunch of people up, and they were just ducks in a barrel, just getting shot down. Boom, boom, boom. And that's kind of saved the day, turned the momentum for him. So great work there from the Lash to win the fight.
Yeah, and something I did want to also point out as well was Warden having the scroll to be able to stop them from pushing forward was really good for them, because if you notice in part, they were able to not necessarily dive in on their walker as quickly. That gave them enough time to kind of reposition themselves for it. And on top of that as well, just by a little bit of time, because scroll, I think a lot of people have a tendency of not building it as much as they used to. I think it's kind of one of those items that is a bit of a sleeper in the long term of being able to provide sustainability and survivability for your team, because it's a second of hesitation that allows you to just kind of like recompose yourself, and then also sometimes just be able to keep up with the chase.
Yeah, keeps a lot of folks at bay, like the Drifter, like the Mo and Krill. Our final replay that we have for you folks is this mid-boss fight at around the 31st minute mark. And so Macro Monsters, recognizing they have the advantage, this will be a desperate play for the side of Slammers. They do slam in, they get one rejuve from this Drifter here, but where's their team fight capability? There are no ultimates available in this fight. Their big wombo combos, the rallying charge, the seismic impact, etc., are not there. And so they really are just tossing bodies on the point at this time. Whereas they have the Death Slam available, they don't even really need it in this contest. They just drag everybody in. There's the big Death Slam for 2, the ground strike after, and that separates the fight. And they just find these picks one by one. So really well done from the Micro Monsters to get the mid boss, get the fight, get the win.
And then as well, to piggyback a little bit of what you were saying there, being able to get the fight and get the win, I think this time around Macro Monsters really understood how much the Slammers were prioritizing on the hyper carry character, and then also drawing to the fact, like you said, not having ultimates is dangerous for going into mid boss, right? It's either you let them take the objective or try to gamble it out and try to go for the parry, but when your only carry is the one doing it and you're not following behind them is rough as it is, because not only are they by themselves in that pit, you are not there to be able to follow up and at least try to do something to stop some people.
100%. Well, folks, this is one of my favorite points of this series. This is where we get to interview some of these fantastic content creators. We do have Griff from the side of Macro Monsters. They are a Rust content creator with over 200,000 subs on YouTube. So we'll bring them in for an interview now. Griff, how you feeling?
What's up?
Yo!
How's
Welcome
it going?
into the cast. It's going great. I see you're a big fan of Barcelona.
I
I'm a
love
big fan of them
Barcelona.
too, so. Love it. All right, Griff. Well, we've got a couple questions for you. My first is, you're in the grand finals. How does it feel?
It feels incredible. We went out there, we got him in, we beat him up, we stole the rejuve, and we took the dub. It was amazing. I can't even explain. I'm so excited. I feel like I'm about to bounce off the walls.
Like, that was us seeing you all turn it around there at like the 25-minute mark. We were all, if we were sitting, we'd be on the edge of our seats watching you and the rest of your team play, Griff.
No.
Admiral, I think you have a couple questions for him as well.
Yeah, definitely. So this time around, when you guys came into the second matchup, right? I mean, for the third round, what was your guys' like main goal, like priority targets, right? Because you guys were much more like CC heavy oriented this time around.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that having Fitzy on the doorman was like the key pivotal moment for you guys?
Fitzy is our team captain, and let me tell you, he performed unimaginably well. He was creating so much space, and while we were doing that, everyone else was just farming. That was the plan. He would go in, make a bunch of space, and then everyone else would just farm. And he went crazy. He went crazy.
And like, and also in part as well, like him building, rushing into Phantom Strike and everything like that. Was that like always the goal is for him to rush into that every single time? At any point, was he just like, hey, like I want to try something else? Or was it just like Phantom Strike, ignore everything else?
I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. I learned how active reload worked like 2 games ago. So I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you about how it's built. I'm not gonna lie, bro. But he cooked. He cooked.
He surely had us scratching our heads like, wait, is this really working? And in game 2, it definitely did. Griff, my question is, how does, you're a big Rust streamer, how does that, playing that game translate over to Deadlock? What are some skills or mentalities that you've taken from Rust into this game?
Well, first off, like when you go from Rust to Deadlock, you kind of become like a chain feeder, right? Like, I had to completely change my brain on how not to chain feed because Rust is so aggressive. You're always trying to get the money. You're trying to get greedy. You can't get greedy in this game. So like, another thing that's really crazy is the next matchup actually has 2 Rust YouTubers, one former Rust YouTuber and one current Rust YouTuber in it, and we're friends with them. So it's gonna be like a, you know what I mean? It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah. All about the good, friendly competition. Well, Griff, our parting question will be, what do you want to say to your fans out there, all the Rust members that have come to support you in this Creators Cup?
I guess get your popcorn and get your lotion because we're about to go crazy. We're about to go crazy.
All right. Well, that is a great parting word from your Griff. We thank you so much for joining us for this interview. Good luck in the grand finals.
Thanks for the interview.
We'll be seeing you in the booth. You're very welcome, friend.
Turn
we'll
up.
See you in a bit.
Micro Monsters, turn up.
Oh man, just overall great times here when it comes into Death Slam. Philly, this has just been awesome and fun to see everyone being able to participate for this. But man, every time we come back into these matchups, there's nothing else like it, brother. Everything just plays up in hand format for it. Each match lasts a little bit longer than the one before, and overall, this has been some of the best matchmaking we've seen in a while.
It's been a pleasure seeing all the wonky builds, the different compositions. And if you've been enjoying it, folks, make sure that you like and subscribe to Death Slam events or to all your favorite content creators. We are going to head to a short break as we are getting prepared for the grand finals, which will be the Macro Monsters versus Shy Hung Alphas. And we'll take a look at the bracket just so you can see who is there. The Shy Hung Alphas, and they are led by Pashi Pop and then the Micro Monsters, which we just saw on stream. Admiral, this is going to be a great matchup.
Yeah, it's going to be an overall fantastic matchup to see Shy Hung Alphas going against Macro Monsters. Again, you just saw how the Macro Monsters are performing for it. I'm really excited to see how Shy Hung Alphas decide to challenge Macro Monsters against them. I think, honestly, if later down the line they decide how they want to play it out, 100% I am predicting that Shy Hung is going to be banning out Fitzy's Doorman because they want to not deal with that. They don't want to take a nice little CS at the Baroness. They want to keep the fight going. They want to make sure that they can, stay elevated in the fight.
100%. And so the players, they will have some time to look at each other's games, right? Some of those match IDs, create some strategies. But we do have our Discord that is available. So if you want to join in all the events that we have here at Death Slam, we have our Death Slam Opens, the Invitationals, the Pugs that we do. There's so many things to get involved with here at Death Slam events. So do the exclamation board Discord.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Death Slam. I am here with big boy Philly. Philly, you have been absolutely nailing it here today, and I believe this is the grand finals between the Shy Hung Alphas and the Macro Monsters. How we doing, big dog?
Oh, I am feeling fantastic. I'm energized. I'm pumped. You looking like Warden. I'm looking like Shiv. We're just hanging out here, ready to do some. Are you Abrams? Or
There's
you
a
Warden?
goddamn Abrams cosplay. What
Oh,
are you talking about?
God.
The bad? Come on, bro. No, I appreciate
Show's
you,
ruined.
Philly. You just look handsome. You're like a real Shiv, man. Yeah, you've got the jawline for it. Now, Shiv remodel, not the ugly one right now. Horrible creature. But yeah, it's been an exciting day here at Death Slam, and I am so pumped to share this with you. You have seen a lot of the action here today. Now, pretend like I'm an absolute moron, and I have no idea who I should be looking out for. Which one of these two teams do you think is the good one? All right, give me the laydown. Give me the whole thing, big dog. You are a resident expert here.
Okay. This is all right. I think the Shy Hung Alphas have one of the best coaches in this scene. That is Pashi Pop. He is a fantastic coach. I DM with questions all the time. Wonderful.
Okay.
So this is going to be a well-coached team. Whereas the Macro Monsters, a lot of great individuals, and so if they can work together, I think they might outclass them. So this is going to be a tale of two different styles for sure here, Slacks.
Absolutely. Brains versus brawn, good versus bad, coach versus nothing. For the Gen! Taken out there. What a shame. And there you go. Actually, the Slammers also taken out. I did watch that last series. To me, I thought this entire thing was just a scam by Deathy to just shit on as many streamers as possible so that he could win his own tournament. Actually proved that wrong with a horrific throw in the last game with the 50-kill drifter. Good Lord. Absolutely insane so far. I'm very excited to see who's going to take it out here. Now, are there any key players that we should be keeping our eyes on? All right, and are there any people we should ignore from the observers? The obs are listening to us right now. Is there anyone we should not waste our time looking at?
Well, I got to shout out Dat Sir, who's been our observer throughout the day, doing a fantastic job of highlighting each and every match. But yeah, I mean, we took the script from Deathy, we tore it to shreds, and we said, no, you're not going to be the finals, boss. We got other people to show. But you're right, and there are a few folks that I think we should highlight for sure. And one is Throat. Throat. That's their name. Throat.
That's
They're
the name.
Rust.
All right, my wife loves that. Throat. Hit it.
They are a Rust streamer with over 200,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Woo!
Very lethal out there in the Cursed Apple, so one to watch for sure. On the flip side, we saw the likes of Griff and Fitzy. Those are the two highlight players from the Macro Monsters I think we should keep our eyes out for.
That's absolutely fantastic. I did get your interview with him before, and that kid is a lot of fun. Those Rust players, they know about darkness. There's a lot of guys that join in Deathlock, Overwatch people, Riot people, guys that come from non-Valve games. They don't understand true misery like a Valve fan does that comes from a Dota, MOBA, a Counter-Strike. But Rust guys, those guys are sickos. They understand it. They lock in to that sadness. And I have big hopes for them as well. So, very exciting. Very, very good. So, in your opinion, who's the most broken person that we've seen so far? We saw Doorman. Absolutely nuts. I saw the Drifter, who got more than 50 stacks then lost. So that, not that great. Who do you think is the most broken meta character in this event so far?
It's the Celeste. She's the unicorn, the circus freak, whatever. I know.
You can't say that.
Can't say that.
No,
Cassie,
go
mute me. But the Celeste has been banned time and time again, Slacks, and she has not seen the run of play for a couple of matches now, just because her movement is just broken. She can fly across the map, basically, get the urn, these neutral objectives, and it's just really difficult to track her down. So you'll see her probably be banned out, especially from the Shy Hung Alphas. They hate this character. Wouldn't be surprised if they ban it first.
Fantastic. I absolutely agree. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And we're going to see no silver here today. So the Shy Hung Alphas versus the Macro Monsters here at the Grand Finals. We've got some great casters for you. Don't worry. My annoying voice will not be around for too long. Mr. Philly, though, did a fantastic. He will be sticking around for quite some time. And we got some bands here. Are these bands? What the heck?
These are band, Slacks, and I don't think I can root for the Macro Monsters. They took out my boy Shiv. I mean, we got the pop collar, the pink shirt, and everything. I mean, the disrespect,
Unpop the
honestly.
collar, unfollow from Twitter, ban these guys. I'm pissed. But I am interested to see if we will see the Celeste Hayes first pick. Very interesting here.
Wow. Yeah, that is incredibly interesting. From my notes and my research, they don't really have like a Haze player, and starting out with like a pick initiator kind of character, you can counter that in the draft going forward if you're the side of Macro Monsters, which they're going to do right here with the Calvin. If Haze tries to single out a target, the Calvin can come in, frozen shelter, heal everybody up, keep him in the fight.
Listen, if you have hands, you can be a Haze player. I'm not too worried about it. The Haze player's biggest problem is not drooling on their keyboard too much so that they can still go WSD. Anybody can play Haze. Not too worried. Not everybody can play the Lash, too. This one's for you, Deathy. All right, we're still looking out for Deathy. He might be eliminated, but we're going to go Lash. Is this real or is this a fake draft? Where's the Celeste? Where's the Broken Heroes? What's going on here?
That's actually a good point. Knowing that Celeste has got to be picked up at some point in this first round, right? It has to be. But this Lash and Calvin combo is tried and true, Slacks. If you get the Death Slam, you slam them down, put the Frozen Shelter on top, then they can't escape. So it's a good wombo combo. And hey, wait, am I seeing double? I'm seeing two Abrams out here.
There it is, baby. All right, I might be obese and he might be muscular, but you don't see the bottom of the camera, big dog. Abrams picked up Celeste, ignored, no bans. Maybe it's a gentleman's agreement not to do this. But very, very cool. Abrams, since the beginning of Deadlock Esports, has been a mainstay. Super broken from minute one. And Graves coming out, too. Now, this is an interesting hero. I'd like to hear you tell me about this one. As a street brawler myself, broke. But in the good game, in the main game, how are we talking on Graves? How's she feeling?
Yeah, she can be built in two ways. You can go for this kind of position 1, position 2, where you have these gun items online, Vitality, you just try to run at people. It's almost like Razor from Dota, right? You want to steal their stats and just run them down. Or you can go for this summoner build where you get all your ghouls, almost like a Undying or a Chen, right? And just have all these summons and run the lane down. And I used to be a big Dota 2 player. Shout out to my brother Mateo Firemouse, big Dota 2 player right now. Either way, Graves fantastic on the split push. So I would imagine the Haze and the Abrams will give her space to allow her to do that. On the flip side, though, the Mo and Krill, the catch master, maybe looking to shut her down.
Absolutely. Very, very interesting here. Now, I did do a minimal amount of research for the tournament, and I do know that these guys, the Macro Monsters, have a hell of a Kelvin player, and Kelvin has also been one of the most toxic, insane characters in any competitive game I have seen in quite some time. So this could be crazy. This could be a very good one. I am very excited to see how this one turns out. Mo and Krill picked up. This is a very basic character here. What's the deal here, Philly?
I mean, they got the green thumb as a recommended first-time character, right? So it's like, hey, if you're new to Deadlock, pick up this guy and see what you can get done. So I like this. This helps with that single target availability. Yeah. Taking out the Billy, though, is interesting because they need some frontline themselves, the Macro Monsters. And with the Abrams already picked up, usually don't go Billy and Abrams. So interesting there. But the Venator makes a lot of sense. Both teams are looking for that M1 carry right now, and neither have found it. So limiting that pool makes sense to me.
Oh, okay, super interesting. Yeah, the Billy Abrams is pretty rough. You buy Rebuttal, and you've basically done it. The game has been won. So, well done there. Lady Geist coming out here. This is, okay, so you lied to me. No one cares about Celeste. Literally no one, not even in it. You lied to make me look foolish, and I respect you for that. And I think that's a good way to survive in esports, is to sabotage. Why are we getting Lady Geist here, big dog?
She's the carry. She's like a Terrorblade, right? Has the soul exchange.
Don't talk about Dota. These people are living.
Sorry. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you, Slacks. Okay.
Play the game. I got 3,000 hours in Deadlock.
3,000 hours. Okay, that's like 3,000 more than I have. Either way, she's the carry, right? She's got the Glock. She can pester people down, but she's also got the soul exchange. So if you do try to single out in these 1v1 engagements, you've got the swap. You can re-engage in the fight. I always call her as like a resource sponge. She just takes all the ultimates, all of the damage, and then she still survives. And then you have nothing left in the tank for the rest of the team fight. So I really like this as a character going forward for the draft.
Yeah, it is an insane amount of control coming out from the Macro Monsters. I don't see hardly any macro at all from these guys, so their namesake is terrible. It's literally point and click, but no problem, no worries. And then we have Bebop coming out. Hello, Dolly. All right, Bebop. Is Average Jonas on this team, or is he out by now? Is that,
I think he's out at this point.
Thank God. Cut. That would have been rough. But we do see the Bebop coming out in the Mirage. Mirage last patch I know was horrific, absolutely decimating every single thing. You think the nerfs are enough? Are we gonna see him pop off on this match? You think?
I think he's still incredibly strong. A great laner, great global presence. So if the macro monsters try to play the macro, the Mirage can teleport and counter him, right? Or counter them. The Bebop is also another character that can kind of prevent the macro, because if you feel like you can push one more wave, Bebop might be right behind a fog wall to just zoink you right in, right with the hook. So I like the way that they're maybe countering the pressure. And there it is, the Celeste making it this far down in the draft slacks. I can't believe it, honestly.
I knew you were an honest man. I knew you were telling us the truth just to get us hyped up, and there it is. And Wraith picked up as well. So absolutely stunning lineup coming out. I think Macro Monsters have everything they need. Team fight is great. Solo target pickoff is awesome. You got the most broken character at Celeste. Someone is playing Wraith for some reason. What can you do? We all make mistakes. Overall, really liking this draft. And then meanwhile, Shy Hung Alphas, you got Haze, Bebop, Mirage. All right. I mean, what's that do? Is that good?
Yeah, it is this more pick composition, right? They want to find these single targets and eliminate them, but who are you really going to pick out here? I mean, Wraith is kind of the only person that seems the most vulnerable. Everybody else has some sort of escape or defense against these ganks that the Shy Hung Alphas are trying to do. The last thing that I think I would like to see from their draft is a Spirit Nuker, maybe an Apollo, even a Great Talon might work. Something else that once you do catch a singular person, how do I just burst them down really quick? So they're taking some time because this is a crucial pick.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a tough one, especially with all that single target that we were talking about and that ability to get people. I mean, you were talking about Great Talon. God, I hope we don't see a Vindicta, but anybody like in the air, you know, one of those squishy range guys, going to have a rough time this match, I would have to say. We do have the Doorman, however. The Doorman. Rem? The rat with the pillow? Ain't no way.
It's filled with brain slacks. It hurts. It hurts.
Okay, what does the rat do here? Because that's pretty interesting to me. Kind of a disengage tool, a little bit of heal, a little bit of slow things down. Is that going to be enough, though?
So it's going to help in lane. Absolutely, right? He's usually put him in the off lane, and you kind of just keep that stable so that the opposing carry can't find as much farm as they would like. The other thing is that his little helpers can absorb farm across the map, so counter that macro once again. And then Nap Time, a wonderful team ultimate in these mid-boss engagements. So if you can go from the top ropes and kind of spy everybody, lock them up, you might find a pick there. So I don't hate this. They were kind of lacking a support character here, and he can do a good amount of spirit damage. So it covers a couple of bases for him. I like it.
That's very nice. I'm going to counter you and say I do hate it, okay? I think Rem is dog. Could have been a Dynamo, for God's sakes. We could have got a nice big ult, you know, some saves in there, but we're going to go with the rat. I'll have fun dying in the tunnels. I'm going to say 100%, put my life on the line. I will never play Deadlock again. No, I'm just kidding. I like Macro Monsters a lot. I think they have a lot going on. I'm not going to force you into Shy Hung Alphas, but how are you feeling?
I think the Macro Monsters have an easier to execute composition, right? Death Slam, Frozen Shelter, Shining Wonder in there, bops everybody around. That's fine. If you need isolated picks, they've got it. So the Shy Hung Alphas have a tough composition. They really have to play reactively and proactively at the same time. So it's really challenging for them. I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see how this one goes out. Obviously, when you are thinking about, however, map control, that is one thing, though. I mean, Mirage being able to go all over the place. Graves, of course, with push potential there. Rem just dumpstering the laning phase. So, maybe you're selling me on it, Philly. I came out with a very blanket, insane statement, and now you're making me doubt myself. However, there's one thing I've learned from esports. You know, caveman strat is always a good one. Dumbest heroes typically win. Longest stuns typically win. I'm going to go with Macro Monsters on this one still, but it is a truly incredible showdown. Now, these guys have really worked to get here all day. They have just crushed, you know, content creator after content creator. You're going to see so many sad reels at the end of this one. I saw one kid from Overwatch crying on a short after he lost, so shout out to that guy. Fantastic. No! Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're here about. So, who do you think had the roughest?
Just actively taking 1v3s, like for fun and getting out. I don't know how to quantify that beyond just balls of steel, okay? Like, this is just an unbelievable performance. And it's not to, like, you know, diminish anything that SHA did. Like, they made insane outplays to start their lead in that game. It's just something happened. It was like part of this mental that we've seen from the Macro Monster, this narrative about their mental developing from the last series into now. The reason that they won that previous series is because they had insane comebacks, and I think this is going to continue to be the story. You have to put this team down because there's just no other way to finish them.
Absolutely agree. I mean, fantastic stick-with-itude coming out from Macro Madness. This is something I always say: when you find yourself looking up at that scoreboard, you can't get it too deep into your head, and got to be able to find the ways to fight from behind. Macro Monsters did it. We got a best of 3 though, so a chance to answer. Desk, break it down.
Thank you so much to our incredible casters. What an insane game. I don't know if it was super high skill or super awful, but they just kept throwing and coming back and throwing again. Absolutely insane. And Macro Monsters living up to their name. Never down and out, despite how horrific it looked. Okay, Philly, I got to ask you here. I got to ask you a very important question. One that might not have a real answer.
Okay.
Who was the MVP for you in that series with Macro Monsters? Because there were so many to choose from.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. It has to be Dak. Dak is the carry, the Lady Geist. I was going to say Fitz because I'm a support player, but he was going for a Spirit Nuke, whatever. Dak is my MVP. We saw so many times they just absorbed everything. They just did not die. They needed so many players to rotate to take down this Lady Geist, and that opened up the map for the other players to find farm, get their footing again, get the objectives that they were missing, so on and so forth. And then not only that, Dak found kill after kill.
Yep.
So I just MVP to him.
It was absolutely a team effort. Without Dak not dying for like a minute and a half, there's no way that they get to do their macro. But as a support player myself, I gotta say, I mean, Fitz, absolutely unreal. When they were down and out, when they had no chance of winning, this guy is just pushing and pushing and pushing and making space until he finally gets what he needs. I mean, I do not think we will see a Kelvin again in this series. You cannot give this man Kelvin again. That was insane. Absolutely insane.
Bonkers work. I mean, we saw him in the base slacks at the end just trolling, just like dodging around, using Refresher and the Frozen Shelter just to buy time for the mid-boss take, and they got the rejuve. So if he did go down, he would have been revived. So incredible work. You're right, he will be banned, but his doorman is also insane. So it's like, what's the lesser of two evils here?
Absolutely insane gameplay. But from everybody on there really wasn't anyone on Macro Monsters that was, a burden except for Griff. But besides that, every single person came through. I mean, you had Flynn, who was on the top of the farm, despite his team getting absolutely pooped on. You got Celeste, which was also in the game. I forgot that maybe some people weren't as good as others, but still, they did what they needed to do to come back, and that was absolutely crazy. Now, a toxic question, if you may. I know that you're a kind man. Me, myself, I'm a toxic psychopath. How do you come back as Shy Hung? I mean, you've got Griff absolutely doing nothing, talking S. You got to take 4 potty breaks just to get the cortisol down. You had that game, and then it just got out of your fingers. What are you talking about there? Like, how do you come back mentally from that one?
And I have to remind folks that Shy Hung is coached by Pashi Pop, and so they had a wonderful macro level split push kind of thing. It was a slow burn, like Slacks. We were in the green room forever, like with the stick, just like, come on, do something. And eventually, at like the 35-minute mark, things started flying. But it was this. They had all the split push with the Graves, with the Ren, with the Mirage, but they just couldn't close it out. And that's one of the most difficult things to do in a MOBA. We thought they might have had it around the 30-minute mark, but then there was a huge turnaround that gave some hope for the Archmother side. And so I think they just have to find that one final fight, the one final pick to then get the last shrine, get to the boss and take them down. So just execution kind of things.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at some of these key moments of where it did go wrong for them in some of our replays here, and we can talk about some of those moments that led to what many would call disaster here. Now, this was the beginning of something. You can look at the score here. The Graves is unbelievably ahead. Everybody, I mean, this we named this one, I believe, Celeste doesn't actually do anything this game because she instantly died despite being so strong. And then, but it was the beginning of the end there. They get a nice hook. Hayes dies for the first time. Shortly afterwards, Graves dies for the first time. And I have to give credit where credit's due on Lazy Dog. Lazy Dog carried that first half of the game. Just carried. I mean, I've never seen a Graves move like that before in my life. But they started fighting in basements. You don't fight in basements, man. Do not go
against
down.
the Necromancer. No chance.
No, dang. Actually, it was rough stuff. But I mean, big shout out to Lazy Dog in there. And Connor, of course, was doing absolutely incredible. Some of those ults coming up from Connor were nuts. Highlight for you from the Shy Hung. Who do you think on the Alphas was a key player in that one?
I think it's this Habibi on the Bebop. Habibi had an excellent hook on the Celeste. We talked about how annoying she can be to lock her down, but they were able to do so. And then he has this wonderful hook from range. Whoa! Serving up the Mo and Krill for Easter dinner here. The ham is nice and cooked, and then he just gets eliminated after that. So a wonderful bit of content, a bit of play. Tries to turn it around, but won't suffice. And there goes the Mo and Krill.
Absolutely nuts hooks coming out from him as well. But I mean, what can he do? What can he do? This whole time that we get these incredible hook plays, all the skill shot, all the great movement coming up from Shy, the macro boys just had the macro. They just kept sending in Kelvin across the street, making sure that their boy Wraith had all the farm that they could ever need, and then the comeback eventually came. But I do really think Shy could have had that game. Like, it was very small, minute little changes, which makes me super excited for game number 2, because it really could go either way. I know our producer was saying, guys, is the game about to end? And we unanimously said no one has any idea. These guys have both thrown insanely, and they have both done insane clutch plays, so it could go either way. What a treat for the grand finals here today.
For sure, Slacks. And this next clip we have is the 28-minute mark, and we labeled it false hope for the Macro Monsters because, like, they win this fight, and we're like, they're probably not going to win this game, and they do. It was an excellent engage from Griff just to create some separation. The nap time does lock him down for just a spell, but I'll pause it here. They still have the frozen shelter, and they have the Death Slam combination, and that's what we were looking for from the draft. They'll utilize it here to win the fight, especially their counter engage tool in the nap time is being expended. Now that that's off the board, that's basically a freebie for this ult combination. So we'll see if Griff, he hops over and he'll find the nice Death Slam to bring a couple people to heal. Yeah, there we go. And squish.
Huge patience coming out there. And especially, I gotta hand it to Griff. My man is talking shit, super low behind, and then he pulls off some pretty good plays. It is hard to talk shit when you're behind and then follow through on it. So well done on the mental game. For some of us watching, we have zero actual game, and it is all mental. And then look at this rat. He's getting beat down. Just beat that rat. I don't know a lot about, maths, but I do know that Rem is more susceptible than all other characters to punches in the back of the head, and we just saw it there. And you can look it up. That is real. That is real, all right? Punch those Rems, ladies and gents. Good rat extermination. I do have to ask, though, do you think that the Rem came through in that game? Did it provide a lot of that utility? Because you were talking about that Rem. Now, I'm not trying to point fingers here. But you were saying that Rem was a very cool last pick. Do you think that they lived up to that hype?
I think it did, because they had their timings until about that 30-minute mark where they had full map control. They had all the lanes pushed. We saw one moment where the Mirage was going 1v1 against Dak, and Hush Puppy came in with the tag along and healed him up and kept him alive for a little bit. I think he had his moment, but he does fall off significantly into the later stages of the map. And so he did what he could, and then nothing you could do. As you said, the Dynamo might have been better picked there for all stages of the game.
No, we have no idea what we're talking about up here. Absolutely not. These guys are good. These guys are killing it, and it was good. You are right. When it came to getting that job done in the early game, they were just dominating. But that's macro, baby. That's tough. And it's tough stuff. But we're getting ready for game number 2. Absolutely incredible job by all of our competitors. We're having a lot of fun on the desk, talking some shit, getting some hit. But honestly, what a thrilling game from both sides. What are you hoping to see next game? Do you think that this Kelvin will ever see the light of day again? Do you think that Celeste is even going to be valued after we didn't see too much of a massive, play from her in that one?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question, because the Celeste was already deprioritized. You only have good questions, Slacks. I mean, that's
so
why
much.
you're here. You're the best interviewer I've ever had. But the Celeste...
I'm so sorry. That sucks.
But the Celeste was not very valued, right? It was in the third phase of the second phase of the draft, second to last pick, whatever. It wasn't really a problem. So I don't think they'll prioritize it in the draft. This Calvin, though, like you mentioned, will definitely be taken off the board. Everything else, didn't really see too much issues with it. They did counter the lash a little bit, that sort of thing. So really just this Calvin might be the adjustment. I love the macro play from the Hidden King side. I like that strategy. They just had to close it out at their timings, and they couldn't do it. So if they go back to it, I think it would be just fine for them to do it again.
Absolutely. Yep. Trying to think of what they could have done different on Shai Hung. And I think they had a lot of that aggression. They were in the lead, but it was kind of responding to these macro plays. Now, coming from someone who has wasted their life and youth in a MOBA game, absolutely used to have hair, used to talk to women, people used to talk to me before I played MOBAs. Macro can be a trap, all right? You can't respond to everything. Sometimes you just got to nut up and say, we're going to lose a walker. We're going to lose some shit. Let's go. We're in the lead. Let's not respond. So it's a really tough decision to make, especially with the amount of resources that you have on killing someone. Killing feels good, but it's about what you lose. So I'm sure that these guys know that. There was a lot to take away from that game. We're going to see some crazy new bans. We're going to see some crazy stuff. We're going to get into it, my friends. Let's see how Game 2 is looking very shortly as we enter into the draft. All right, now, first prediction on bans, okay? What do you feel? What do you feel? You did not lie last time. I set you up, and you did wonderfully.
I thought it was going to be the Celeste Slacks, and it was the Silver instead. So I would imagine the Silver probably, once again, she excels at all phases of the game. Really good, whether it's position 1 to 3, 4 or 5, whatever. She could do anything. It would be the Silver. Makes sense. I think the macro monsters, let's see. They might ban the Calvin just so that Shai Hung doesn't get it with the first pick. So that might be their response to this one. But they did go with the Shiv and the Billy last time, so they might stick with that.
Okay. I have to say, by the way, we're going to get rid of Shiv, a classic hero that everyone complains is broken. Now, I thought this hero was dog. I've been on, of course, my boy, Mr. Shiv. You are so OP on the panel, we cannot allow you to come in the game. Now, according to Reddit, Shiv is dog. What is up with him getting first banned in here? What are your thoughts?
There might be a great Shiv player on the Shai Hung squad, but I think Shiv, he does things that aren't necessarily always on the stat sheets. He can clean up kills, has the execution, can frontline a little bit, absorb damage, tough to take down. So some of those minute details is where he excels. I know Soren Markov, the true mastermind of Deadlock, he and I have been parsing through some of the VODs just to really figure out what this guy does. But the Calvin, we called it Slacks, obviously the first guy taken off.
That was you. I didn't say a goddamn thing. You were absolutely right. Kelvin Stolen, a doorman. Now, I've heard the legends about this Fitzy doorman. I've watched it myself. Somehow more annoying than any other person in the world at doorman. Now, doorman's an interesting character. I know they used to be not so great. And then we got some buffs. Of course, the new ultimate. Very exciting. What are your thoughts specifically on this guy's doorman? Because I know you were watching that game earlier from him.
Yeah, Fitz causing some fits, honestly. Just allowing his team to, I know, bad pun, had to do it. Going with the doors to secure the urns, allowing his team to travel. He was going for this really heavy spirit nuker kind of builder. He was just pestering people, and they just couldn't take him down. So shifty was he. So I like that. That'll get good priority in the lane, and then, maybe they can move from there. But the Lash in the next picked up. This is just a tried and true pick for the macro monsters.
Absolutely. I mean, Connor did do very, very well with the Haze as well. So we're seeing these signature heroes coming out again. Yeah. We're going to see Griff probably back on the Lash. Haze probably going back to Connor, who, I remind you, did not die until halfway through the entire game and had some sick ults even into the end of the game. We're picking up the Abrams again as well. Now, Throat is someone that we didn't talk about too much last game. Absolutely dominated in that early game. I believe it was 4-0. And on the front lines of almost every single fight. Interesting guy. I mean, he didn't have enough damage to really finish it off. I did like the Echo Shard on charge. I thought that was a meme, but well, maybe it was. I mean, they did lose. Maybe it was a meme. We'll see if we see it again. But Graves going to be stolen here. So much respect from these two teams, just stealing each other's signatures. This is very toxic.
This is I thought this was supposed to be a fun tournament, Slacks. I thought everyone's friends here. No, definitely not. We're out for blood now. Just screw you. I'm taking your character. But speaking about taking character Slacks,
Yeah.
Apollo will not be a part of this one. We were discussing this a little
No.
about in the previous draft. I know he's a good character. The Spirit Nuke in the early mid game, fantastic. The Lady Geist now taking this. It had to be right. You cannot allow Dak on this character once again. Which then for the Macro Monsters, they have to secure their M1 carry. The Venator is now open. Should the draft go back to them, that's a character they have to pick up.
All right, and you were absolutely right on the Lady Geist last time. So many reasons. God damn, this guy! There's a reason we got him on Grand Finals, baby. Talk about the Geist man down better. This is god damn. I know I come from Dota where there's like 130 heroes, so it's a little bit more impressive to guess there's like 8 here. But well done again on the guessing. So tell me a little bit about this one, Venator. Why so good? This is not a classic M1 carry from what I've seen so far in my Deadlock days. Why so powerful?
Yeah, wonderful in lane. The gut shot stuns people, can set them up. The trap can set up your lane partner as well. He also scales fantastically with his resistances scaling off of Spirit. So the more, if you build Spirit, his resistances do bullet and Spirit also go up. And so he's good at just kind of tanking for you. He's not as squishy as some of the other M1s like the Wraith, so on and so forth. So just good utility, great ultimate for burst. He's just a good all-around type of character. But we're seeing now, Slacks, this is a massive lane pick duo. Billy and Paige, you always see them together.
That's right, that's right. Lore conspiracy theorists still believe that this is brother and sister, and you're incorrect. But that's okay. You guys can ship whatever you want, make it happen. The Billy Paige combo, very strong, you know, getting out there. However, big concern from something that you said last time. Abrams and Billy on the same team. By rebuttal, win game. I mean, this is kind of rough here. You got two guys with a pseudo-similar play style. Obviously, a little different, but and Mo and Crow coming out yet again. Who I did forget was in the last game, played by Reb. Well done, Reb. I did watch that one time that you ulted, and it was very cool. So we'll see that probably on Reb again. Do you think that the Billy Abrams is going to be an issue?
I think only because I'm looking for the damage. Because Hayes is more of going to this alt bot build, as Soren Markov told us in the green room. Not always necessarily position 1 carry. We saw the Kelvin. This, at least on Shai Hung, will probably be more of a position 4, like a support E character. So where's the damage coming from? If they do go late, I need to see somebody get in the gun damage, and I'm not seeing it here. So their last pick has to be the Mirage, something along those lines. As terms of the Macro Monsters, they're getting the Celeste as their final pick. Some good spirit damage, good urn control. They're really going to be going for these neutral objectives.
Absolutely, yep. Well, and we're seeing a very similar draft as last time from Macro Monsters. I mean, a lot of these guys are kind of simple, you know? You go in, Mo and Crow ults, Celeste aims her ultimate, hopefully, and 7! What is he doing? That people play that? That's still here? Is that good? I ain't seen a 7 in a long time. What's that guy do these days?
I gotta look through the notes, Slacks. I gotta see.
What the hell is this guy doing here? All right, we said we needed damage. 7 is
he's got some damage.
Yeah, okay,
he's got some damage with the Spirit, the Storm Cloud. This is probably going to be piloted by Connor Eats Pants. That's one of the characters he likes the best.
John Deadlock, yeah.
Yeah, so I think I don't necessarily like it because he needs a lot of items to be effective. He can get chewed out pretty early by a Mo and Krill, by a Lash, so on and so forth. But if your back is against the wall, you got to put the best character with your best player, see what happens.
Now, this is a very, very thematic draft from both sides. Today is, of course, Easter. You have 7, who was electrocuted to death and then came back anyway. And then you have Venator, who also is religious as well. So on this blessed day, may we put our hands together and say, I don't give a shit who wins. I'm just happy that both these guys are going at each other's throats on this holiest of days. Here we go, boys. We're going to see quite some action here. Initial impressions. And put you on the spot. Who do you think's got the better draft?
Yeah, so I'm looking through all phases of the game. I'm looking at early game, mid game, late game, and I kind of like what the Macro Monsters are doing here. The Mo and Krill, the Lash, the Doorman, help them through this early game. They sustain in the lane. The Celeste, if she gets some farm, really good in the mid game for that burst, that gank potential. And then you have the Graves and the Venators, your position 1, 2, respectively, to kind of close it out, provide that priority in the lane, find those abilities. Whereas the flip side for Shai Hung, it's very early to mid-game top-heavy here, Slack. So they have to win it probably by the 25 to 30-minute mark. If it goes any later than that, it's going to be over for them.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think that from what I can tell, Macro have everything they need, except for a little bit of side pressure. That's one thing that they did a lot last game. They had Kelvin able to go, make him some space, make him some room. Shy Hung Alphas have a lot of damage and a lot of great combos in the early game, but we saw that last time. And
I'm low-key, I'm excited for a game 3. I thought that we might not see one because Macro Monsters, don't forget they won from behind last time around. So just because our golden team find themselves up a little bit, I mean, you know, doesn't mean that Macro couldn't end it in 2. So through divine intervention, we are guaranteed some bonus at Deadlock. Very, like, big picture, your boy's still happy. Like, big picture, your boy's still happy. We get some good stuff, and we get to say hi to Slacks in Philly.
Except on Mox, great casting there, guys. Thank you for keeping us entertained during those pauses. Guys, stuff happens, stuff happens, but I'm going to be real with you. There's no way Macro were coming back from that lead. I mean, that'd be crazy. Just because they did in game 1 does not mean they would have done it in game 2. That 7 was cooked. It was really, really good. What'd you think of that game so far over there, Philly?
I mean, we talked about this, an hour or so ago, that Pashi Pop is the coach of Shy Hung, and he is so good at getting and meshing players together. And we just saw the teamwork that they exuded in this game, and they just ran it from basically the beginning. We said they had to close it out within a certain time period, and they certainly did. Slacks, I don't know, you and I are twinning, actually. We're looking at, your hair is looking good like mine. We got the curls going. I'm feeling good. I'm liking it.
No, it was a hell of a game. And they really did learn their lesson from game 1, because it was very similar to what we saw from game 1. Oh yeah, you gotta give it to Lazy Dog. Now I was shit talking this 7 before we started this series. I said, what does this guy do? You said they needed damage. Well, Lazy Dog delivered. Insane amounts of damage, insane amounts of everything. 9 kill streak going in. I mean, we thought that Cotter Eats Pants as Hayes was a carrying with that kills last time. Woo! Lazy Dog showed us why we want to go for that 7. Incredible job by him.
Yeah, not lazy by any stretch of the imagination. No. I mean, they're top 500 in Overwatch and Celestial in Marvel Rivals, so they know what it takes to compete in the highest levels of gameplay, and they showed us what this 7 can do, being that spirit damage character, and then in these team fights, just massive with the Storm Cloud, was just zapping everybody, and it was just all said and done from there.
And I gotta say, Hush Puppy came through on this one as well from the page. We got to see that incredible, if you remember the first engagement where Lash was trying to kill her and she turned that one around. Super, super hype. And that's what you really want from a page. Super aggressive, in the fight, in the dart, fighting with you with the book. So overall, Shy Hung absolutely fixed their issues from game 1. We got to see a repeat of game 2 without any throwing. And super excited for game 3. We are going to have a substitute. I believe it is you, Philly. Coming. No, I'm just kidding. But, what if it was, though? What if it was? This is the creator.
I'll get my controller ready, Slacks.
Get the controller. This sick freak told us that he plays Deadlock on controller. I couldn't believe my ears. It was pretty based. What are we talking? We talking Xbox? PlayStation? What's?
I got it right here. It's whatever this thing is. It's got buttons on the back. It's got some stuff. Yeah, it's fun. It's good.
That's
it's
the controller you give to your cousin when they come over, and it's like, oh yeah, this is the one. Like, yeah, you can have the unofficial one. What the hell are you doing? I thought you were gonna.
I don't have a parry button map, Slacks. I've got no parry. So if you ever find me, just punch, and I'll be dead.
I thought you were going to pull out a Steam Deck there. You scared the hell out of me. All right, fantastic. But yeah, let's talk about some unsung heroes, right? Habibi went from game 1 to that Bebop, and then he really took over on that Kelvin this time. I'm not going to say as amazing as Fitz, but still, robbing Fitz, making him play as the doorman, which was much less effective in my personal opinion. No, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but he made some space. It was a deny pick and super good. But my man in there was Throat. As our wonderful caster said, we didn't give a lot of love to Throat in game 1 as this Abrams, super, super stable. We see that stable Abrams coming in again, first guy in, dealing damage, doing his job, and now with that win, you can tell how important that was. What was your highlight there, Philly? Who do you think gets the MVP?
Yeah, I mean, Throat with 15 assists, really facilitating with the seismic impact and the shoulder charges, setting up for these kills for the likes of Connor and Lazy Dog to find those eliminations. But but the Calvin really facilitating the neutral objectives, allowing the urn to be transported across the map. They were utilizing the ice path to great effect. So just fantastic. But Silent, I think, overall is my MVP. Had a massive 4-person chain gang that kind of turned the tides this entire match and really helped them kind of close it out. So Silent, I think, is the unsung hero here for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember the exact chain gang that you were mentioning. I'm sure we're going to have it on our replays, and that was insane. And in full, let's go ahead and take a look at this bad boy right now. Silent going to go in with the urn first. Badass already, and look at that. Holy Jesus. Now, this whole time, our wonderful casters, Mox was like, oh, Dak is the man. He's got the lead. There's no way. His entire team is just dead right there. Absolutely incredible job there.
And the one Achilles heel of the Macro Monsters composition was they don't really have the front line because the Billy and the Abrams were taken away. And so how would they engage? Who's going to absorb that damage to allow the Venator to find these clean shots? And they just didn't have it. The Mole and Krill couldn't get enough stacks in the early game to really beef up and be the front line they needed them to be. But that chain gang, I mean, rattled 4 people in, then blasted them, batted them, rammed them. I mean, everybody was basically at a sliver HP, just easy cleanup from there.
Absolutely. It was kind of boring there. Thank God for F-Dot. When we finally got that, my ass woke up. That was hype as hell. So thank you again to our casters for filling. Now, I did get some word here that there is some speculation that the Shy Hung Alphas actually did take out a hit on Flynn. I'm not trying to be that guy, but there is a local police report saying that a transformer next to his house was rammed in by a vehicle registered to Connor. Now, I'm not trying to say that is a coincidence. I just think it's odd. I just think that it's odd that an electrical transformer was rammed into by a 1997 Subaru Legacy registered to Connor H. Pan. So I'm just putting that out there. No judgments at all. We'll see how that replacement goes, but I will warn that replacement to lock your doors and your windows because Shy Hung Alphas seem to be out for blood. They will do whatever they can to win the Death Slam. It is very scary out there, my friend.
I mean, this is a very prestigious tournament to have on your profile, put in your bio, whatever it is. So, you want to win. But it's Slacks, you are the detective. So these are good notes that you're taking down. It's so funny you said Subaru Legacy because I have one. So I thought you were about to say something about my cars. Yeah.
It gets deeper, my friend. It gets
deeper.
deeper. God damn. Yeah, I mean, some say that Deathy was too scared to win his own tournament, just in case he beat the Shy Hung Alpha. So I'm not trying to paint them as bad guys, but this is, this is Deadlock. Not a lot of these characters are good dudes, okay? I am interested, by the way, Philly. What should they call the Deadlock characters? Because Dota has heroes, of course. I forget what League has. I have too many brain cells to remember. Champions, I believe. Any ideas? Yeah. Would you like to throw anything out there to Ice Frog? Yoshi, who is definitely watching. What should we call these guys?
Slacks, you must have caught me on my morning walk or whatever, because I was thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, what do you call them? I want to call them like ritualists or cultists or something like that. Cultists, but that sounds too demeaning to call them all cultists. I don't know, but they're trying to complete a ritual, Slack. So
that is true.
Know. Maybe that's it.
That is true. That's going to be rough for the sales pitches on Deadlock Esports. Please support the cultists. You don't have to worry too much about it, but trust us, it's a very good game. Yes, well, please send your ideas over to us as we continue to be the innovators here on Deadlock Esports. Shout out to all of the players and the content creators who have come here today, especially our very risky replacement for Flit. All right, whoever is coming in has nothing to lose. We will get a replacement for you guys soon, and that guy he's coming in a very hot seat here. The entirety of Macro because they already won game 1. Now it is very clear whose fault it is if they lose game 3. I mean, that's a bad position to be in. All right, you do not want to be the guy coming in for game 3. I do hope that we can figure this one out. Would you have any recommendations? Would you like Yoshi to pop in potentially, or the guy who made the Risk of Rain? He could always come in and get that.
I love Risk of Rain, but they need a carry player because it can't be us. We play support. They need someone to replace Flynn. They were on the Graves. They were on the Wraith. It's got to be somebody who can kind of fill that shoe, because I don't know if they can fully adjust the roster to fill that position 1, position 2, because it's a very niche kind of position to fill. So got to be a carry player.
I'm getting some word that potentially the draft might be up. We might be actually having a replacement already. I am praying that it is not Flynn, But we will find out very shortly who potentially this person might be. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in the draft. We do have a replacement. Who knows who it could be? Is it Yoshi? We will find out soon. Let's go into the bands. Now, bands. Let's remember what we saw last time. Kelvin, a number one. Both teams have shown that they have incredible Kelvin heroes. We have not seen the Kelvin band out yet. Will we see it come out here today? We have seen Celeste picked up and nearly lost twice, but definitely lost one time. Will we see that band? Will my man Shiv come in from the dark as he is right here, Mr. Philly B? When we get the real Shiv, we'll find out shortly. And Silver, we're not going to get Silver. Silver fans, back home, you furry bastards, it ain't happening here today. Hayes band out. Hold on, wait a minute. Raise your paws, furries. We could have Silver coming in here today. Is that you? Okay, we're raising paws. Hell yeah.
If the Silver does get picked, I got my special call out for Silver. But Hayes makes a lot of sense just because Connor was eating everybody alive on this assassin character, going for a heavy alt build and really providing the damage. So they're just like, we can't really deal with that. Let's maybe mix it up and force them onto the Silver and see if they can pilot it at this time. As you mentioned, the Arctic Adventure will not be banned out in this one.
That opens us up. It opens us up for some wolf action here. Oh, we will see. I'm very excited to see if we actually do get that one. All right, now, with those two bans out, big respect bans. Who's your number one? If you're in this game, who is number one you are slotting in before they ban them?
It's got to be Silver. 100%.
Gotta be Silver. All right.
It has to. I mean, she's golden. she's leveled up. I got all the puns there, Slacks. But she's, great front line, great soft CC with the bola, the tail whack for disarm. Macro monsters, though? What? Okay, the doorman, they want fits on. They want him on this character again. He was just so much presence on the map. It's just a nuisance to deal with.
Do I detect a two-trick pony here? Because that is very telling. All right, that is very telling. You ban out Kelvin and then you insta-lock in Doorman, for God's sakes. Can this guy play anything else? That is very sus indeed that we have to lock in Doorman to make sure that we don't get that banned out. That's crazy. Do you think that the Doorman was that impactful last game for its worth? Because they had trouble killing him, but he didn't really make as much space on the macro as his Kelvin did. Is it worth the first pick in your opinion?
I mean, you have to make your players feel comfortable. If they really can only pilot two people, and here it is. The Silver.
Baby, I'm grabbing out you tonight. There it is, baby. There, absolutely. Silver coming in. This hero is so toxic, according to you. Walk me through it. Why is it scary?
Yeah, so this is I would like her to be a position 3, right? You want a Venator or maybe a Graves be in those 1-2 spots. Then the Silver is here as a 3. She can kind of run at you with the Lycan's Curse, absorb a bunch of damage, then disarm people, bullet people, lock them down, allow your carries who are behind you to find those finishing kills. In the lane, very strong. You don't want to run up against the burst fire that she has, and also the jump that she can use to disengage, which is very shifty in the lane to boot. Then the Lash is the next one picked up, which is interesting because the Macro Monsters have been playing this one more often than not, so kind of a taken away pick here.
Absolutely, yeah. We did swap the sides here on the draft, so don't get confused. Just because it's second pick Lash on the right side of your screen, that is not the Macro Monsters. That is a stolen pick. So we'll have to see Venator coming out. There we go. Yet again. Now we did see Macro run that on Dak last time. Dak was on the lead of the scoreboard for most of that game until we did have the unfortunate DC. So it looks like round 2 on that bad boy. What did you think about Dak's Venator? You think it was worth picking up?
It is definitely worth picking up. It's one of the best M1 carries in the game. They partnered it with the Doorman in the previous match, and so that's just a lane duo that they enjoy and they know how to play, so it makes sense to lock that in early. And then I'm seeing the Mo and Krill locked in for the Macro Monsters. I think that has to go on to Reb, is the creative director for Warframe, so she's got a lot of things to handle here, playing the support role. Found it was a little bit lost in that last game, so hopefully they can right the ship with her this time.
You know, I'm still waiting for Reb Sinclair to come out. A little disappointed, so thank you so much, Reb, for at least getting our Mo and Krill out. Now, okay, we're going to be picking up Abrams in again. You can guarantee that's going to throat. I would like to say, though, the Venator coming out from Dak, I really miss that Geist. That Geist was on a different level,
Yeah.
though. I mean, as much as the Venator was okay, I kind of am regretting these guys not going for that Geist because she basically carried that mid game as, Mr. Fitzy was making some space with Kelvin. So I wasn't too impressed by the Venator, personally, but we'll see how it works out this time. Anyway, you've got your old reliable throat, probably. Oh, and the Geist is banned out. Interesting stuff there. Now, as an Abrams spammer myself, you gotta play it every single game. It doesn't really matter. My man has to do the fake out parries and all that stuff. I mean, not that I can do it, but he can. We did see Throat do it, so I'm glad to see him back on. Our next pick, Graves is banned out. What do you think of that?
I like it. This character is just super annoying. We've seen it in almost every game. Just really annoying in lane. Can just pester you with a lot of spirit damage. They usually put that in the mid lane. Then she can kind of be off on the side and split push. Just kind of force rotation. So just who wants to play an annoying last game? Just go full on. Just punch each other in the face. Burger box, as they say. I just want to see an all-out brawl in this game number 3.
Hell yeah, that's my boy. Get that meta shit out of here. We just want to fight. And there he is right there, Mr. Billy. Man, talk about fight. Silver Abrams Billy on Shy Hung. This is as alpha as it gets. This is about as run at you with no plan besides W I have ever seen. What are they going to do? I mean, any one of these characters catches somebody right now, it is looking pretty rough. Mr. Doorman has got to do some real juking if we're going to make it through this one, which you can. We did see that.
I mean, maybe Amina would be nice here for the side of Macro Monsters. They don't really play it, but she has a good, decent amount of burst, can kind of keep pace with these two with the love bites. So that's what I would like to see, but now they're lacking that front line once again, the Macro Monsters. So how do they engage in these fights? They don't have the Abrams or the Billy. They don't have the Lady Geist. They're just playing on total mobility, disengage, re-engage kind of tactics.
Absolutely. Any one of these guys gets caught, except for Big Fatty Mo and Krill, they are in some trouble here. This is two completely polar opposite gameplay styles, Be in the back, be flighty, be running around and not tanking, and then I have no plan but go in, coming out from Shy Hung. So this is nuts. I mean, okay. There we go. Worked out last time fantastically. Lazy Dog, our MVP from last year, is going to be slapping in there again. There's your damage. There's your stun. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it adds the team fight capabilities, right? The chain gang into the Storm Cloud, really good. It's this extra spirit damage because really right now they only have the Lash. So I like this a lot. And then to round it out with the support, they have a really good Page Billy lane, of course.
Yeah,
It just makes a lot of sense. So this composition from Shy Hung, ooh, fantastic.
That is a sick draft. Sick draft.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, I guess your weakest lane is... God, I don't know. I'm looking at it. I'm trying to figure out the weak lane there. It's rough. And we saw that they fixed their problems from game 1. If they can win the early game, now they can. Great talent. An interesting choice. Interesting is my way of saying psychotic. We have another backline squishy damage dealer. This is nuts. Who's their frontliner? Who goes in first? Mowing Krill? Poor Mowing Krill has the world on his shoulders. What are we doing here, Philly?
This is going to be incredibly challenging. They want to go for this pick burst composition, right? Just single out a target and then just blow them up. But I don't even know. They need a lot of souls and items to get that done, especially with the amount of beef on the other side. This is a tough. Slacks, I don't even know how to break it down even further than that. This is just really tough from the Macro Monsters, man. This is oof.
This is a little rough. But, however, when you do say damage, you did mean damage. I mean, all these Shy Hung Alpha heroes look good if they're alive. So kill them with big damage, I mean, you get caught in by a great talent, a Celeste, Wraith blowing you up. I mean, they have a huge amount of pick-off potential. I will say that. And their control with, Doorman, they can kind of get in and out a little bit. So there's hope, I think. It's just a really tough job. We talked a lot about in Series 1, especially in these Creator Cups where these guys are not esports players. They're personalities having a good time. Easier execution can go a long way. And Shy Hung Alphas, I mean, I think most of these heroes are the ones that the game tells you if you've never played before to play these guys. So, I mean, that's pretty good. Pretty easy execution. I don't know. Where are you putting your money on? What do you think?
I'm definitely liking Shy Hung. What is really hanging me up for the side of Macro Monsters is their early game. I mean, I don't see how these lanes are going to be successful for them. It's really going to be on the back of Fitz, but I would like, they're probably going to put him in the mid lane. They want to push that quick and then have him rotate and be kind of this gank spirit nuker. But that's a lot of eggs to put in one basket and rely on one person to do it. So if they can go through this early game, I think they might have a decent shot, but it's going to be tough.
All right, absolutely. If Macro Monsters can survive the early game, they do have a lot of damage, but Shy Hung Alphas are about ready to chat it up and run straight at them. To find out who's going to win this one, our Game 3 of the Grand Finals, let's head over to the two best Deadlock casters that there ever were, Mr. F. and Mox.
Hot damn, I'll take it. All right, well, let me get in frame. Hot damn, I'll take it. Game 3.
All the creators that joined us for this tournament, and if you want a banger of a grand finals day, like 2 best of 3s into a best of 3 true finals, and it's just really awesome Deadlock. So I don't want to get lost in the sauce too much on, oh, this was blah blah blah. Man, we came out here to have fun, and we saw some really competitive gameplay between every single game. And while this one looks like a little bit one-sided at the end, it was fun the entire way along, and I just want to commend everybody for some really fun Deadlock the last couple of days. Everybody stepped up to the plate here.
Big facts. Mad fun watching some, giant creators that most of us here have been watching for years. Just a sincere from the commentators, thank you for joining. And obviously everybody in chat. It's been super fun watching all these teams come out. Shy Hung absolutely earned their victory. Looked strong, played well. This wasn't just an oopsie daisy, so it was dope. Before I toss it to the desk, I want to shout out my personal Fino. He's a Smite player. There are dozens of us, I promise. All right, I'm done. Slacks, Philly, HD Furry B, back to you.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Yes, thank you so much to our fantastic casters who are putting in the work and the effort. So thank you so much to F. and to Mox. Great job there, guys. And great grand finals there. Philly, that was hype as hell. What'd you think, bud?
Oh, it was awesome. Just some fantastic plays from the Doorman, from the Silver, from everybody out here. It was just incredible thing. When you and I were oohing and ahhing the entire time in the green room, you were just keeping everybody hype and laughing. So it was just a good day of Deadlock all around, and it's a wonderful time to just bring the community together. I'm glad to be a part of it.
Absolutely. I mean, so many great creators throughout this entire tournament, and the guys over at Death Slam Events for running this bad boy. So super fun to see all these Deadlock lovers come together to go kick the shit out of one another. So, but unfortunately, it ain't all fun and games. Someone had to lose, somebody had to win, and a big congratulations to the Shy Hung Alphas for taking that W. Very impressive series. We got to see them absolutely dog shit on game 1 and then come through. And again, Lazy Dog coming in as our MVP once more. I hope you're happy with yourself. Yoshi is watching, and 7 will get their 15th nerf in a row. Well done, my friend. Well done.
And he did exactly what they needed. Added the spirit damage, some of the big impactful ultimates, and then just became that carry. Once he reaches that 40 soul mark, he's just unstoppable at that point, and just was taking 1v1s along the way. Didn't even have to build unstoppable. He just felt that he was just that good and that much ahead to be able to win it outright. 56,000 player damage for Lazy Dog, carrying the squad. But I've got to highlight this Lash. 22 assists, death slamming everybody, being cursed left and right, but still fighting through it. I mean, fantastic all around from the Archmother squad.
Absolutely. And you got to highlight that because that's our games. We're absolute dog, but look at the assists. Now, Jay, if you just look at the assists, there's a lot. No, absolutely. I mean, everybody really came through on that game. And Lash in particular, Habibi, who was, running the Bebop earlier, was a great deny pick. I believe because of that deny pick, we got to have the Gray Talon come out instead of the Lash. Yeah. Throw people off their game. So even if it's not the strongest hero, you still did a fantastic job because of some competitive Deadlock. Got the bans, got the picks, pretty hype stuff. So overall, incredible job from the boys. Everybody showed up on both teams, and it was so fun to watch. From 25-minute leaving assassination attempts to guys coming back. Supposedly, I don't know, he played a little differently. I'm just saying. No, I'm just kidding. It was definitely him. He did. We heard from production that Flynn was so dedicated to coming back that his house's internet did not work. He drove to someone else's house and played on their PC. So please do not ban him for smurfing. It was really him. He came back and he played again. So that is super hype. Big shout outs to everybody from Shy Hung Alphas, our champions here today, who will have to, I hope, fight against their title for the next one of these bad boys. And big shout out to you, Philly, who put in a hell of a day here today. We are going to get an interview in a little bit with one of the winners. We asked them to send us their MVP, who they thought was the best, so that will be coming our way soon. But Philly, before they get here, any S-talk you'd like to do before we glaze this guy to infinity?
100%. We have a couple of clips here, Action Slacks, to show everybody some fantastic things in that game number 3. A few of the earn contests, because that's really where a lot of the big fights happened, were around these neutral objectives. So the first one we had was around the 10-minute mark. It was just called Chaotic Earn Fight. This is basically just ultimates flying everywhere, Slacks. It was just the kills littered left and right. Yeah, give me the expletives, brother, because it was just madness out here from the get-go. And it's just turns the tide. But what I want to highlight in this clip is that the macro monsters, we mentioned how they didn't really have a strong early game composition. Well, they utilized the doorman to get the earn and kind of help them keep pace in terms of the soul differential. And so they were really gunning for a lot of these opportunities. And this one didn't always go their way. It was just tick for tack the whole time through.
Absolutely. You got to hand it to the macro monsters. We talked about how they kind of had to go uphill on this draft. It was a lot of low HP, high damage characters that had to outplay their opponents. And for the most part, as you just saw from that fight, they did a hell of a job. They didn't do themselves any favors with that draft, but when it came to gameplay skill, getting in and out of range and doing damage, they showed up to play. So super hyped to watch, as you saw from that very chaotic fight, which a lot of these fights were extremely chaotic and high skill. I mean, the such flighty heroes versus such knuckle dragon big boys. Abrams. Big shout out, of course, I have to say, to our boy Fitzy, who rushed that curse. And so hype. We've been seeing, the cheat death come out. We've been seeing all these evasion ways come out. He just said, guys, we need a curse. We need something to stop Lash from going crazy on us. And it worked for a while. So big shout out to the boy making some dynamic item decisions. What'd you think, sir?
Yeah. And Slacky had to, because in our next replay, this was right before Fitz did buy Curse. And this Lash just had so much impact in this fight. Just getting to with the ground strike, fogging people, getting a big death slam here, dodging the rallying charge. Look, he scoops up 3, just slams them into the dirt. The Owl trying to save for the counter, engage play, but didn't really happen there. So after this, the team got together and said, we can't have that anymore. We need to pick up the Curse. So just a fantastic work all around from both of these squads.
Absolutely. And you have to attest Hush Puppy to a lot of this too. I mean, they had a lot of ways to deal this massive damage. Here comes the Abrams. Oh, God, that feels so good. Sorry. Thank you, Throat. But no, I mean, Hush Puppy being able to kind of provide the support that their team needed for these super high damage spells and characters to be able to carry them through. Definitely the unsung hero. We are always watching. We are watching here on the desk. And it's not just about KDA. It's about teamwork here in Deadlock, and definitely shown through.
Yeah, and that's the motto of Death Slam events, is ditch the solo queue. Come join us and play with your friends, right? Get a team, get some coaching. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I want to talk about this next clip, though, Slacks. And this is the one where the macro monsters did win. This was almost a touch to the light, almost a turnaround point for them. So let's take a look. They had a good combo engage onto the Abrams. They just spent a lot of resources to take him down, but with that front line gone, they felt like they could move into the back line. They do just that with the cart. Fantastic work and just blowing them up with the spirit damage. This is what their composition was designed to do, but they needed picture-esque, picture-perfect engages to get it done. This time it worked out for them.
Absolutely. And you can just see these guys ducking, diving, getting everywhere they need to do to make sure they didn't get caught. And if they could just do that a few more times, 2 or 3 more times, this could have been theirs, as we did see from game 1 of this 3-game series. So it could have gone either way. However, we did have the Shy Hung boys come out a little bit ahead. So I cannot wait for another one of these events to see these two legends go head-to-head again. I don't know if anyone else would be able to make it to the grand finals after what I saw. These guys were definitely very, very high skill. Sorry, Deathy. I'm not trying to flame you at your own event, but I don't know if you're going to make it to the finals next time. You better get practicing again, my friend, or get some coaching, which we do as well. But we will get into that as well. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So we have to talk a little bit about our final votes for MVP, my friend. Mr. Philly, we watched the entire grand finals together. We had a great time. Who would you give it to from both teams? Because this is a fun event where everyone's trying their hardest and we're having a great time. So, who stuck out to you?
Some participation trophies, some accolades, some flowers, whatever you want to call it. Let's start with the second place team, right? That's the Macro Monsters.
Yeah.
I do want to give it to Dak first and foremost as the carry player. There's a lot riding on your shoulders. They sent him out to split push a good number of times. And that takes a lot to be away from the team, to really have the trust to fight 1v1 battles, things of that nature. The other one I would give some flowers to is Fitz, but we've glazed this player a ton already. We highlighted him a lot, so I don't want to do it too much, but I think Dak definitely deserves some accolades in this one.
Absolutely. Yep. I got to give it to you there as well. I got to say big shout out to Griff for your insane flaming, no matter what the situation was. You were so far behind, you flamed. You were ahead, you flamed. That toxicity is key. So thank you so much for that. Dak did it insanely as well, good as well. I have to give it to Reb on that team. I mean, Reb was just playing that mowing crow. On that last one, I believe they were the only tank. It was all on just go, Reb. And Reb's like, I got it. That's what for it. So everybody did their best, and it was really, really fun to watch. However, we now have to go to the winning team MVPs. Who do you got for the whole series? Whole series. Ooh, that is tough. I think it has to be probably Connor Eat Pants. I mean, he on the haze twice, then they force the haze ban, so he goes on to the silver, does an incredible job there. And Slacks, maybe I'm foreshadowing because I believe we have Connor for our interview. Oh, do we? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was definitely not going to say MVP for them, but now that they're the interview, sure. Yeah, that's the MVP. Let's go. All right, let's head on over to the interview then. Do we have the interview ready to roll here?
Potentially, but I want to hear besides Connor, Slacks. Who was your MVP? Give it to me
Since they're
first.
Loading in, and we're not going to interview them yet, I got to give it to Lazy Dog. I mean, after watching game, I'm just kidding. It's Connor. Let's go to Connor. Yeah, sure. Here comes the interview. No problem. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Connor, how are you doing? We can hear you. Thank you so much for coming here and talking to us.
Thank you.
Incredible series. What would you like to say about that series before we get things going?
Well, that was the best deadlock I've ever played, man. My whole team played great. Everybody played out of their mind. It was a fun time. We locked in. Yeah. You got a question? What's next?
Yeah. Let's start things off. Why was game 1 so horrific? I mean, that was one of the biggest throws I think I've ever seen in esports. I've been working in this industry for 10 years. I mean, what the hell happened? You guys choked so hard. Talk to me about that. Where did that come from, Connor?
I don't even remember game 1. What happened in that game?
That's great.
Can you remind me?
You threw, Connor. You threw. All right, you were ahead.
I threw?
No, not you specifically, but we had, Lazy Dog on the...
Oh, yeah. No, my cat was, jumping on the keyboard. Not even kidding. Like, he ulted for me at one point. Yeah.
Yeah,
he was being difficult.
No, I'm so sorry about that. All right. What you got for us, Philly?
I was going to say, Cat's always a good assistant coach. We know we have a ton of Cats in the chat here for the Death Slam event. So, Connor, I'm glad you're with us. After the game 1 loss, right, you had to readjust going into game 2. Was there anything that Pashi Pop said to you guys to help you into that game 2?
Yeah, you said a lot of stuff that was really helpful that I can't totally recall in the moment now, but I'm sure it was really useful. It was like, don't do this, do that. He told me to go get souls or something. Yeah, I got souls at one point.
Okay. I
That's
mean, as an
powerful.
esports coach myself, that's exactly what you love to hear from your players. Yeah, coach, I don't remember anything you just said. All right. Good, good.
No, it went
Extremely.
in, bro. It's not the words. It's beyond language, bro. It was coaching on a whole nother level.
Yeah, it was vibe coaching, if you will. That incredible stuff. Really something that we could look forward to as a community. You are officially the face of Deadlock, as you have been before, and now even more officially
That's right.
as the tournament winner of the biggest Deadlock contest that has ever happened between so many creators. What words do you have for the community as the face? Is there anything you'd like to say to the devs who are now forced to listen to you, and anything to say to the community?
Okay, to the community, everybody already knew it was the face of the game. Shout out to you guys. We all have fun here. To the devs, this game is so fucking awesome. This is like my favorite game like ever. Like I've ever since like the first time I played it, I was like, this shit is awesome. I've been telling people for 2 years. So I've been trying to get people on forever and seeing it like it's gonna keep growing. So thanks for that. Buff Melee Vindicta. She it's sometimes it's hard to play and I want to be able to do that. And then add me to like the secret thing so I can like test the new shit early because I have a lot of good feedback. What else? Don't listen to the players that are like, oh, this patch sucks and like, oh, like you need to add ranked. Don't listen to those people that know what they're talking about. Play for fun. What I do, I click play match and I play. I play like at least like 4 or 5 games a day because the game's just fun.
Hell yeah.
Deadlock's just fun. Oh, and add Winston.
Unbelievably based.
You need Gorilla from the moon in the game.
That's great. Thank you so much for that feedback. We'll write that one down. Add Gorilla from the game. Very, very good. Thank you so much. All right, now, for your allies over there, would you like to give any shout-outs to them? I know that, as the face of Deadlock now, you can crown your allies to be your court or whatever the hell medieval thing I'm trying to say
shout out to
here.
the whole team. Shout out to the whole team, man. Shout out to BB for my friend for tapping into the team. He's awesome. He's great at the game. Shout out to Zoil. Zoil was there for us day one. He was his first time ever playing the game, and he actually did really good for like someone who has never touched the game before to play in this setting. Shout out to Lazy. Shout out to Throat. Shout out to Silent. Shout out to the troops. Shout out who else? Shout out to FaZe Lacey. Shout out to Pashi. Oh, Pashi, the coach, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Shout out
That's a big
to
one.
everybody in Phantom Rank. Shout out to everybody in Phantom Rank. That's where the real game is played. I've always said this. I've never gotten out of there, and I don't intend to. Because if you get any higher, it's probably not as much fun.
Phantom Gamers, fantastic. Thank you so much. And for our last question, just wondering if you'd like to approach the allegations that you guys actually did set up Lynn's computer to explode, and you did send a agent over there. You don't have to address the allegations right now, but we just wanted to air that out if you had anything to note on that. But if not,
I'm gonna not address the allegation. I'm gonna wait to address the allegations until I can speak to my team and my legal team as well.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you anyway. It was such an honor, such a pleasure to have you here, Connor. The face of Deadlock, ladies and gentlemen. Please give it up in the chat.
Check out Deadlock Daniel on YouTube. Check out Deadlock Daniel on YouTube. That's my Deadlock channel.
Thank you so much, Deadlock Daniel. Thank you for coming. So good to have you. Thank you so much.
Excellent.
Thanks, guys.
Deadlock Daniel, we appreciate you. We'll send you on your way. Slacks, it's been an absolute pleasure from everybody here at Death Slam Events. We've got a few more announcements, and you know what they're going to be. It's join the Discord, Slacks. You're in it.
Absolutely.
I'm in it. You should be in it too. Ditch the solo queue. Join up with some friends, or if you don't have any, come and make some. Get a coach, right? Go to the academy, learn a lot, and meet a bunch of people. That's what it's all about. Deadlock Daniel mentioned it. It's about having fun and getting together, and so this is what we want to do here at Death Slam Events. So join the Discord today. And if you want to support us even further, Slacks, I'm wearing my shirt. Hopefully we'll get you one. I'll buy you a shirt, Slacks, because you definitely need a death. Okay, whoa. That's the after hour stream. You keep that on. But go and get some merch. We've got shirts, hats, cups, everything that you could possibly want to rep Death Slam, rep Deadlock. Do that today. You won't want to miss out.
Absolutely, guys. Do not be at the whim of Valve and their dogshit matchmaker. Come and join the Discord, meet some friends, and actually have long-standing relationships instead of someone playing their third game in your lobby for some reason. Come over to the Discord, buy some merch so we can do more Death Slams, and keep being part of this incredible growing community. None of this stuff happens without you guys at home watching, supporting, and playing every single day. So on the behalf of Death Slam Events and everybody here, thank you guys so much for making this happen and all of your incredible support. Thank you to all of the people that made this event happen, our wonderful casters like Philly, everybody out there that donated their time and their energy to throw this together. And let's not forget production. We have so many guys working in the back, unsung, not screaming on the microphones or with webcams, and it's that dedicated esports community that makes all of this happen for a game like Deadlock. So, community, you're incredible. Thank you for everything. Thank you, Philly. Any final words for you, Mr. Philly?
It's been an absolute honor to be with the Sir Action Slacks, knighted by Valve himself. It's just been an absolute pleasure to share the booth with you today. And so, once again, thank you all for joining us for this fantastic weekend of Deadlock play, and we'll see you next time.